Chapter 453. Yes, it's a sea beast. Di Wuji nodded slightly, then looked around with a smile on his face. Why don't we go somewhere else to talk, Daoist Ning? After all, there are too many people here. At this moment, they were in the sky, and countless people in the capital of the divine dynasty were staring at them. Sure. Lead the way, old emperor. Ning Tian nodded, and several people and one lion disembarked from the void ship. Then, he waved his hand gently, and the void ship disappeared into the void. Now that his strength had increased, he no longer needed to put the void ship into his storage ring and take it out again. Yes. Di Wuji nodded slightly, then glanced at Sha Tian and said, "Then this little lion must be the ancestral master's mascot, right?" Hearing this, the Sealing Flame Lion King's eyes widened. "Stupid human! You're the mascot. I'm the sect master of the Demolishing Heavens sect, Sha Tian. If you say I'm the mascot again, don't blame me for being ruthless and demolishing your whole family." However, these were just its thoughts. In fact, what it made were just some howls. Many women below were overflowing with motherly love when they heard it. Their eyes widened, and they couldn't wait to take this fierce little lion back home. "Yes, it's the mascot." Ning Tian nodded silently. "Roaring grass. Since it's the mascot, then, Longjiang," Di Wuji said to a certain place, and then a golden light flashed from the capital. Longjiang, who they saw that day, appeared in front of everyone again. "Master." Longjiang's body shone with a golden light, and his dragon body was domineering. Compared to the Sealing Flame Lion King, this little lion was useless except for acting cute and demolishing homes. Sigh. Four sighs resounded. At this moment, Sha Tian clearly sensed four gazes that were filled with resentment for failing to live up to expectations. Roar! Sha Tian was a little unhappy, and he roared. "Lion language. Just you wait. Sooner or later, I, Master Lion, will prove to you that I'm better than this stupid dragon. Longjiang, bring this little lion to my back garden. I remember that there should be a beautiful demon lion I bought from the waste region a few days ago." Di Wuji's voice rang out just as the Lion King was feeling indignant. "Yes, master." Longjiang nodded his head slightly. "Roar?" Hearing the words beautiful demonic lion, the eyes of the Sealing Flame Lion King lit up. His interest was piqued. It patted Di Wuji's shoulder and roared twice. "Little Emperor, I didn't know that you know how to conduct yourself. I'll be merciful this time, and I won't tear down your little capital of the divine dynasty." Fellow Daoist Ning, what is your mascot saying?" Di Wuji was confused. He still didn't know that his unintentional action had actually saved him from a disaster. "Nothing." Ning Tian shook his head slightly and looked at the Sealing Flame Lion King, who couldn't wait to leave with Longjiang. He couldn't help but sigh deeply. Sigh, what a lecherous lion. Like master, like pet. He's not like me at all. He's so serious. As soon as he said that, the girls in Di Wuji were all stunned. "Hey, you're the master of the Sealing Flame Lion King, okay? What a good way to scold yourself." "Haha. Fellow Daoist Ning, you're really good at joking. Everyone, follow me." Di Wuji chuckled. Then, he led the group and flew toward the inner part of the Imperial City. In the main hall. "Hiss, 3000 beauties in your harem. I didn't expect you to really have 3000 beauties in your harem. Not one more, not one less." Ning Tian clicked his tongue and sighed. He had heard a lot from Di Wuji along the way. "TSK, 3000 beauties in your harem. This is the dream of every male cultivator. If it weren't for the fact that I'm a little more handsome than you, even I would be envious." Haha. An imperial emperor should act like an imperial emperor. Di Wuji smiled lightly and looked at Ning Tian. He said, "In my opinion, fellow Daoist Ning has a strong background and is so powerful. Moreover, you have an extraordinary appearance. Yes, yes. If you know how to talk, then talk more." Ning Tian nodded silently. So, if fellow Taoist Ning is willing, you can actually expand your harem. After all, with your strength, you are fully qualified to do so. At this moment, Di Wuji's voice sounded. Yes, huh? Ning Tian nodded subconsciously. Suddenly, he realized that there was something wrong with what he said. Is this old emperor really dancing in a minefield? Damn it. Is this guy trying to kill me? Swoosh. The moment Di Wuji's words fell, he clearly sensed 3 pairs of eyes simultaneously landing on him. Their gazes contained a trace of coldness that was extremely terrifying. Huh? No. Why are there 3 pairs of eyes? That's right. One of them belonged to Bai Lu. She didn't know what was going on. She only saw Wu Qing and Yueyao looking coldly at Ning Tian. Therefore, for the sake of unity, she looked over as well. As for why there was coldness in her eyes, it was because she was cold to begin with. Ahaha! Old Emperor, you're too good at joking. Ning Tian laughed awkwardly. He looked at Di Wuji with a kind gaze. The kinder his gaze was, the more Di Wuji's instinctive fear grew. Old Emperor, men can't be so fickle. Only with a clear heart can you cultivate for a long time. Also, people can't only think about that. Otherwise, they will regress. As the saying goes, women will only affect the speed at which you draw your sword. Do you understand? Ning Tian explained seriously why he only had 2 wives. He used the most beautiful words to cover up the truth that he was henpecked. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao sneered inwardly. Ha men! If it was someone else who said this, they might have believed it. However, Ning Tian didn't say it at all. After all, he would take them to exercise whenever he had free time. How could he be someone who would say such big words? Hiss, I see. Di Wuji suddenly understood. Luo Wuqing. At this moment, Luo Wuqing suspected that there was something wrong with the emperor's brain. How could she be fooled by her husband? Ahem, Ning Tian coughed dryly. He picked up the tea that the maidservant beside him handed him. After taking a sip, he said, All right, let's skip this topic. Let's talk about the sea beasts first. Sea beasts, Di Wuji murmured and looked at Ning Tian. Taoist Ning, you should have heard of the dark turmoil, right? The dark turmoil. Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned. Why was it this word again? It seemed like everything was related to this matter. Then, he nodded slightly. I've heard of it. Continue. The sea beasts are the demonic beasts left behind before the dark turmoil. They maintain the most primitive wildness, so they are abnormally strong. Also, the dragon general is a sea beast, Di Wuji murmured. Author's words, hee. Bai Lu is in my hands. If you want to save her, hee. Chapter 454. Demon Beasts Left Behind During the Dark Turmoil? Hearing Di Wuji's words, Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing, and the other girls frowned. The dark turmoil was too long ago. Even though they had read ancient books, they did not know anything about it. However, it seemed that there was an existence that had lived for a long time now. Bai Lu, do you know anything about the dark turmoil? Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu, who was squatting at the side with the death bell in her arms, and asked. Bai Lu shook her head and said seriously, the dark turmoil was too long ago. Even I don't know about it. Hearing this, the few of them frowned. Even Bai Lu from 2 million years ago did not know about it. Fellow Taoist Ning, I think it's best if you don't ask about the dark turmoil. Be careful not to anger some existences that you can't afford to provoke. There are gods watching over you. Di Wuji held his teacup and said earnestly. Hearing this, Ning Tian just smiled faintly. He would not be able to understand the dark turmoil for a while. It was better to focus on this trip to the Endless Sea Domain. So, this time it's the sea beasts in the Endless Sea Domain that are causing trouble? He looked at Di Wuji and asked. Yes? Di Wuji nodded slightly and said, however, according to my intelligence network, someone should have deliberately alarmed the sea beasts in the Endless Sea Domain. Who? Ning Tian frowned. Perhaps it's the Sea Demon Clan. Di Wuji said unhurriedly. The Sea Demon Clan? Ning Tian looked over. Yes, Taoist Ning, you can understand it as a general term for all the creatures in the endless sea domain. Di Wuji nodded, and a glint flashed in his eyes. My Wuji dynasty is close to the endless sea domain, so I'm quite familiar with these sea demon clans. These sea beasts have a fishy smell. They are greedy and cold-blooded, and they are good at disguising. Taoist Ning, if you encounter them, you must be careful. Di Wuji's words were filled with disgust. It seemed that he was very dissatisfied with these so-called sea demon clans. Old Emperor, it seems that you have had a lot of fights with the Sea Demon Clan. Ning Tian looked at Di Wuji and said meaningfully. Yes? An old rival. Di Wuji said casually. Then there must be a lot of countermeasures against sea monsters and sea beasts, right? Ning Tian smiled as he looked at Di Wuji. He had a lot of information on how to deal with sea beasts and sea demons. It would be a loss if he didn't scam him. Haha. Of course there is. Di Wuji did not intend to hide anything. After laughing loudly, he told Ning Tian and the others everything he knew. Then, are these sea beasts or sea demons poisonous? A small number of them do. Is the skin of these sea beasts hard? Without a good weapon, I won't be able to cut it down. I have an immortal artifact divine weapon. If fellow Taoist Ning doesn't mind, I can. I don't mind. In the next half an hour, Ning Tian asked Di Wuji all kinds of questions about the sea beasts and the sea demon clan. When Di Wuji saw how eager fellow Taoist Ning was, he immediately felt that he could do it again. He answered all of Ning Tian's questions. Seeing this scene, the girls shook their heads helplessly. Didn't Di Wuji realize that every time Ning Tian asked him a question, he would have to give him a corresponding treasure in return? Haha. Thanks to you, old Emperor, I feel that there shouldn't be a problem dealing with those sea beasts. Ning Tian smiled and quietly put all the treasures that Di Wuji gave him into his storage ring. I'm very happy to be able to help fellow Taoist Ning. Di Wuji waved his hand. Although he said that he was happy, he felt like he was missing something. It was really strange. However, fellow Taoist Ning, I still have to remind you to be careful of those sea beasts, Di Wuji said in a wishy-washy voice. Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned quietly. Why was this old emperor so hesitant? At the side, Luo Wuqing seemed to have noticed Ning Tian's impatient expression. He looked at Di Wuji indifferently and said indifferently, My husband already understands. Fellow Taoist, you don't have to say any more. As soon as Di Wuji's words stopped, he felt a cold light fall on his body. He quickly shut up. On the other side, Sui Weiao pointed at Luo Wuqing and whispered to Bai Lu, Bai Lu, look. This is the husband-protecting crazy demon. Husband-protecting crazy demon? What is that? Confused face, Bai Lu hugged the death bell with a puzzled expression. Yes, husband-protecting crazy demon is a very powerful person. Hee, do you want to become a very powerful person? Su Yueyao's eyes were full of slyness as she looked at Bai Lu seriously. Yes, I don't want to. Bai Lu shook her head slightly and hugged the death bell. Her small face was full of seriousness as she said, Because I'm already very powerful. Su Yueyao fell into silence. She looked at Ning Tian and murmured in her heart, Hubby, you have a successor. This girl can also act cool. After chatting for a while, Ning Tian and the others were ready to leave. It's getting late. I've already scammed all that I need to. No, I mean I've already understood everything that I need to understand. Old Emperor, we'll take our leave first. Ning Tian touched the storage ring on her finger, and a satisfied smile appeared on her face. Then I wish fellow Taoist Ning a smooth journey. I'll send you out of the palace. Di Wuji nodded slightly. He was a little excited. After chatting with fellow Taoist Ning for a long time, he also learned a lot. It turned out that fellow Taoist Ning didn't get close to women. This was the reason why he became strong. It seems that my harem is only a drag on my sword-drawing speed. A group of people came out of the palace. Ning Tian whistled softly. Not far away, a red shadow flashed over. It was the flame-sealing Lion King. Right now, its face was flushed red as if it was enjoying something. Roar! It roared softly at Ning Tian and the others. There seemed to be a trace of pride in its roar. Then, its enormous body reverted back to its tiny form. Old Emperor, we're leaving, Ning Tian said casually. Then, he led the group of people and flew toward the border of the Wuji divine dynasty. Soon, the group of people disappeared. Fellow Daoist Ning, I hope you have a smooth journey, Di Wuji murmured. At this moment, a golden light flashed beside him. Long Jiang flew over, and he was holding a small book in his hand. Long Jiang, what's that in your hand? Di Wuji was puzzled. Emperor, it's a gift from Brother Shatian, Long Jiang replied. Oh, a gift from fellow Daoist Ning's mascot? Then you can keep it well. Since it has a relationship with fellow Daoist Ning, it must be of great use, Di Wuji said earnestly. After saying that, he disappeared in a flash. Long Jiang was left alone in the same place. Since the emperor said so, I must learn it well. Long Jiang looked at him. There were 3 words written on the small book in his hand. Word disassembly technique. Chapter 455. The vast ocean stretched as far as the eye could see. The sea breeze blew, bringing with it a hint of fishy smell and spiritual energy. Many cultivators had gathered here. This was the most stable port to the endless ocean. Sea God's port. Several figures flew in the sky. Roar! The sealing flame Lion King proudly hummed a little tune in the lion language. It looked extremely happy, causing Ning Tian and the others to facepalm helplessly. Could it be that this little lion was so happy because it had eaten meat? But that was not the case. The beautiful lions of the waste region were indeed very fragrant, but what made Sha Tian really happy was that he had given the Long Jiang the dismantling formula. As the saying went, if you can't get it, destroy it. Since he couldn't surpass Long Jiang in other areas, he would let Long Jiang join his strongest area. Wouldn't that be the best way to surpass Long Jiang? Roar! Roar! Master Lion's wisdom was unparalleled except for the patriarch, the first matriarch, the second matriarch, and Bai Lu. Husband, this is the endless ocean. Luo Wuqing looked into the distance and saw an endless ocean. The seawater was surging, bringing with it waves of spiritual energy. There were even some fish and beasts swimming in the undercurrent of the lake. It was an endless abyss. Ning Tian nodded. This was definitely the largest ocean he had ever seen. He looked at Wu Qing and Yu Yao and said in a serious tone, Wife, little wife, I suddenly thought of something very serious. The 2 women looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Do you think this is considered our honeymoon? Ning Tian said with a serious face. The 2 women, Wu Qing and Yu Yao, were silent for a moment and rolled their eyes at Ning Tian. At the side, Bai Lu and the Flaming Lion King were confused. If the 3 of them were here for a honeymoon, why did they follow? Bai Lu, meow meow meow? The Flaming Lion King, roar? Lion language. Bai Lu, why are you imitating me? At this moment, an old voice sounded from below. Little friends, come down quickly. You can't fly in the endless ocean. Hearing the old man's voice, Ning Tian and the others immediately looked down and saw an old fisherman in a straw raincoat waving at them, indicating for them to come down. They descended from the sky because they were going to descend anyway. Elder, why are you looking for us? Ning Tian looked at the old fisherman and asked with a frown. Of course. The old fisherman stroked his white beard and looked at them with a serious expression. I presume this is the first time you've come to the Endless Sea region. You can't fly in the Endless Sea region. If you fly for too long, your spiritual qi will be consumed by the aura of the boundless ocean. Once you run out of spiritual energy and fall into the sea, you'll be dead for sure. So that's how it is. Thank you, Elder. Although he had already heard about it from Diwuji, Ning Tian still smiled at the old fisherman. Be more careful in the future. The old fisherman reminded them with a serious expression, looking like a kind elder. Then, he sized up Ning Tian and the others, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. With one look, he could tell that these people were the children of wealthy families from the Wuji dynasty. I see that this is your first time here. I presume you're going to pass through the Endless Sea region? He coughed dryly and looked at Ning Tian and the others. Yes, Elder, you're really good at predicting things, Ning Tian said with a smile. Of course. I'm an old fisherman. The old fisherman snorted proudly. Then, he rolled his eyes and said, How about this? I'll send you on your way. 100,000 spirit coins per person. How about that? Hearing this, Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly. This old fox had finally shown his tail. He knew from the beginning that this old fisherman would not be so kind as to remind them. He must be up to something. It turned out that he wanted to take advantage of the situation and earn some money for the ticket. Sigh. We've been recruited by this old man again. What a pity. This old bastard always pretends to be a kind senior. He always earns the most. Damn it. This profiteer. Not far away, many cultivators who were also dressed like fishermen were furious when they saw this scene. Haha. Young friends, when are we leaving? If you're in a hurry, we can board the ship now. The old fisherman's eyes were shining. These people were dressed like rich people. They must be rich. I've made a lot of money today. Well, there's no hurry. Ning Tian smiled and revealed a kind smile. He looked at the old fisherman and said, Old man, I see that you often work at the seaside. Do you often feel a bit of pain in your legs? I've learned some medical skills. How about I take a look at them for you? The old fisherman hesitated. Don't worry, it's free. Ning Tian smiled innocently. Yes, my husband is so kind. On the side, Sui Weiao giggled and added. Luo Wuqing's expression was indifferent. She knew that her husband was going to scam them. Is that so? It's good to be kind. Young people nowadays have to be kind. As soon as he heard that it was free, the old fisherman immediately agreed. Then, Ning Tian casually checked his pulse. After a while, he looked at the old fisherman with a serious expression. Elder, you have a terminal illness. Find a place with good scenery and prepare for your funeral. Terminal illness. Young friend, don't scare me. As soon as he heard the word terminal illness, the old fisherman trembled in fear. Elder, do you feel cold all over now? Ning Tian said with a smile. Hiss, now that you mention it, it seems. Do you feel that the flow of spiritual energy is slower now? Not only is the flow of spiritual energy slow, I feel like my heart is going to stop. The old fisherman panicked. See, this is a terminal illness, Ning Tian said with a smile. As if nothing had happened, he withdrew the spiritual energy that was controlling the old fisherman's body. He sighed and said, Elder, you should prepare for your funeral. Young friend, you have to save me. The old fisherman burst into tears. I still have an 18-year-old wife waiting for me at home. Well, Ning Tian had a kind smile on his face. He said with some difficulty, I do have an immortal pill. However, it is a little expensive. I'll buy it. The old fisherman thought that his life was more important, 10 million spirit coins. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. Deal. The old fisherman gritted his teeth. Thank you for your patronage. You're welcome to come again. Ning Tian smiled and took the 10 million spirit coins from the old fisherman. Then, he handed him an ordinary pill that cost 1 spirit coin. Seeing this, many people's mouths twitched. Why did they feel that something was wrong? Wasn't the old fisherman trying to scam this kid? Why did it become the old fisherman paying? Young friend, Thank you for saving my life. The old fisherman couldn't wait to swallow the pill. Instantly, he felt that the aura just now had disappeared. His vitality came back. He looked at Ning Tian excitedly. Young friend, if you don't mind, I'll give you a ride for free this time. No need. We have a boat. Ning Tian waved his hand and led the girls to the shore. What a good person. The old fisherman looked at Ning Tian's back with gratitude. He was simply a reincarnation of Hua Tuo. Not far away, Ning Tian sighed. If he knew that the old man would be so easily fooled, he would have set the price higher. Using 1 spirit coin to earn 10 million spirit coins, well, it wasn't a huge profit, but at least it wasn't a loss. Chapter 456. Hundreds of ships stopped by the coast. Ning Tian and the others walked towards the coast and saw many ship vendors hawking. These were all merchants of the limitless divine dynasty. They sold or rented spirit royal ships to cultivators who wanted to enter the endless sea realm to make a living. Ships that could sail into the endless sea realm were naturally not ordinary ships. These ships all had the same name. Spirit Royal Ship. It could sail into the deep sea and greatly reduce the corrosion of the endless sea realm's spirit chi, protecting the cultivators on the ship from being affected by the endless sea realm. Wow, husband, there are so many people. Su Yueyao held Ning Tian's hand and looked around. Her bell-like laughter instantly attracted the attention of many cultivators. When they saw her face clearly, many of them trembled. Damn! What a beautiful woman! Damn! Other than that stupid lion, everyone around that kid is as beautiful as fairies. When the surrounding cultivators saw this scene, they were all envious and jealous. I'm so jealous. Why isn't that kid me? Are you as handsome as him? No, then why are you asking? He's just a little more handsome than me. I'm not convinced. Hold it in. But why does this young man look so familiar? Around them, many cultivators looked at Ning Tian and the others in disgust. However, Ning Tian and the others did not care about the surrounding gazes at all. They were still talking and laughing. It's a pity that the old emperor doesn't know why those sea demons startled the sea beasts. Ning Tian murmured. It seemed that he could only find out the reason on the way. Then, he looked at the women and chuckled. I just asked around. There are many delicious fish beasts in the endless sea realm. I'll catch a few later. I'm afraid you don't know that your husband's cooking skills are top-notch. Really? Su Yueyao widened her eyes in anticipation. Luo Wuqing nodded slightly and said lightly, although I've been fasting for a long time, if it's made by my husband, I don't mind trying it. At the side, Bai Lu and the ceiling flame lion king who saw this scene were stunned and puzzled. They really seemed to be on vacation. Fellow Taoists. At this moment, a voice sounded. Then, a group of cultivators who looked like they were here to deliver their heads to Ning Tian and the others. It's the Greater One sect. Quite a few God Emperor experts. It seems that they are also here for the treasure in the sea. When they saw this group of cultivators with powerful auras, many of the surrounding cultivators frowned. There was a trace of fear in their eyes. The more powerful enemies there were, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. A treasure in the sea? The words of the surrounding cultivators caused Ning Tian's eyebrows to twitch. Then, a smile appeared on his face. Since he had heard it, it was a sign of fate. Fellow Taoists, you must be here for the treasure in the sea, right? Why don't we share a boat? It just so happens that I have some good wine here. Good wine and beautiful women are simply. These Greater One sect cultivators had smiles on their faces, and their shifty eyes were fixed on the women. Just as they were walking toward them. Before they could finish their words, a black light flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. Then, he waved his hand gently at them. Suddenly, these Greater One sect cultivators fell to the ground without any warning. Seeing this scene, many cultivators were stunned. Strange. When did the Greater One sect change their profession from robbers to scammers? But when some of the cultivators checked, their expressions changed drastically, and a trace of horror flashed in their eyes. Dead? A few God Emperor realm experts died mysteriously while they were walking? In an instant, everyone felt a chill run down their spine. In the past, there were always people who said that some people died while walking, but they didn't believe it. Now, they had witnessed such a scene with their own eyes. At this moment, everyone broke out in cold sweat like a waterfall. That young man, I know who he is. Around them, a middle-aged cultivator's expression changed drastically. He looked at Ning Tian with reverence in his eyes. He is Ning Buxu. He's suave, elegant, and handsome. Moreover, he is accompanied by a peerless beauty every time. Most importantly, he has a silly lion with him. That's right, he is Ning Buxu? The Ning Buxu who robbed 1,000,000 cultivators in the Chaos Emperor City. At the side, Ning Tian listened to the middle-aged cultivator's words and nodded. Actually, he is only slightly more handsome than all of you. Ning Buxu. I heard that he is a demigod expert. Why is he here too? At this moment, all the cultivators in the Sea God's harbor were shocked. Ning Buxu's name resounded like thunder in their ears. They had heard of him a long time ago. After all, he was the first to rob 1,000,000 cultivators in the Chaos Emperor City since ancient times. Some cultivators even secretly gave Ning Buxu a nickname. They called him the most shameless demigod since ancient times. This was because no demigod expert had ever used his demigod strength to rob 1,000,000 cultivators. After all, they cared about their reputation. You have shocked all the cultivators in the Sea God's harbor. Innate skill reward. The Great Navigator. The Great Navigator. Controlling the course, predicting storms, and the host's favorite treasure, a series of innate skills. With this innate skill, you are the greatest navigator. Innate skill navigator? Hearing the system's voice, Ning Tian's lips curled up into a smile. Not bad. The system knows me well. Then, he moved and appeared in front of the middle-aged cultivator. The cultivator was so frightened that he stumbled and fell to the ground. You don't have to be so scared. I am a good person. I never kill people. Ning Tian looked at him with a smile. The middle-aged cultivator didn't dare to say anything. He only glanced at the corpses of the people from the Greater One's sect not far away, and the corner of his mouth twitched. This is not killing people? Tell me, what treasure is there in the sea? Ning Tian looked at him indifferently. Senior Ning, the middle-aged cultivator trembled as he replied, it is said that a divine weapon of the sea demon race from tens of millions of years ago appeared in the peaceful ocean abyss. All of us are here for that divine artifact. However, this is only a rumor. There is no proof. A divine weapon of the sea demon race? Ning Tian raised his brows. Di Wuji should have known about this matter. However, this guy was very meticulous and didn't tell him anything that wasn't verified. If it was fake, he might have made a wasted trip. Okay, I understand. Ning Tian waved his hand casually. The middle-aged cultivator hurriedly ran away as if he had been pardoned. Wife, let's go. Ning Tian looked at the women and waved his hand lightly. The several hundred-meter-long void ship appeared in the void and descended toward the sea. Chapter 457. Boom. When the void ship landed on the surface of the sea, it immediately set off a wave. What a huge ship! Is this also a spirit commandeering ship? When they saw the void ship land on the surface of the sea, many cultivators were attracted to it. Their spirit commandeering ships were simply too small compared to this huge ship. Hubby, can the void ship be used in the sea? Seeing the void ship floating on the surface of the sea, Sui Weiyao couldn't help but be curious. Haha. Originally, it couldn't, but I modified it and then used a little bit of spirit qi to envelop the entire ship. Ning Tian casually smiled and immediately called a group of people to board the ship. Using spirit qi to envelop the entire ship? A little bit of spirit qi? Hearing Ning Tian's words, the surrounding cultivators' mouths twitched violently. To float a ship that was a few hundred meters long on the endless ocean and still be able to move it, it not only required extremely high control of spirit qi. The most important thing was, it required an extremely large amount of spirit qi. Ning Buxu said that it was a little bit of spirit qi, but was it really not a little bit of spirit qi? However, to Ning Tian, it was indeed a little bit of spirit qi. It was just a strand of spirit qi in his spirit ocean. Look, Ning Buxu and the others are leaving. At this moment, someone exclaimed. All the cultivators in the sea god's harbor looked in that direction. Boom! They saw the void ship explode with energy, and then the huge ship began to move towards the endless ocean. Behind it, waves surged and crashed towards the sea god's harbor. It's really moving. What a huge wave! No F***CK. Amidst the exclamations, a huge wave drowned the entire sea god's harbor. At this moment, even if these cultivators wanted to use their spirit qi to block it, it was too late. In the next moment, everyone was drenched. F***CK, this Ning Buxu is trying to harm us. The group of people cursed. Looking at the void ship in the distance, their eyes shone brightly, and they hurriedly called for their subordinates. Let's go. Follow Ning Buxu and cling to this great god's thigh. Even if there aren't any big benefits, there will definitely be some small benefits. At this moment, the group of cultivators at Sea God's harbor didn't care about getting wet. They boarded the spirit commandeering ship one by one and followed the huge battleship. On the void ship. Roar, roar. Ever since the void ship had sailed toward the endless sea realm, the Lion King had been particularly excited. It kept roaring at Ning Tian, who was steering the ship. Sha Tian, weren't you unwilling to be a tool lion? Why are you taking the initiative this time? Ning Tian couldn't help but feel suspicious when he saw that something was clearly wrong with the Lion King. There must be something wrong with a lion's abnormal behavior. Roar, roar. The ceiling flame Lion King transformed and became as tall as a human. Then, it took out a straw hat from somewhere and put it on its head. The lion's mouth tilted as it snorted. Roar! Lion language. Master Lion is going to become the king of pirates. Ning Tian. Where the hell did you get those lines from? And where did you get that straw hat? Hey! Hence, under the control of the lion who was determined to become the king of pirates, the void ship headed toward the deep sea. Behind the void ship, hundreds of spirit commandeers of different sizes followed from afar. These were all cultivators who wanted to follow Ning Buxu to get some treasures. However, Ning Tian didn't bother with them. After all, he had always been the one who cheated others. Soon, the void ship left Sea God's harbor and headed toward the depths of the endless sea realm. During this period of time, the group of cultivators following behind the void ship had already begun to doubt their lives. They looked at the smoke rising from the void ship, the sound of laughter, and the occasional wave of fragrance. This group of cultivators instantly seriously suspected that Ning Buxu wasn't here to look for treasures. Instead, he was here for **King vacation. On the void ship. Sha Tian, be careful. Turn left in front. You must maintain the stability of the void ship. Something big might happen in front. Ning Tian held a grilled fish in his hand and lay on the chair with a satisfied expression as he spoke to the Lion King. Roar. The Lion King roared and promised to complete the mission. Captain. Behind the void ship. The group of cultivators pricked up their ears and immediately prepared to do so. However, at this moment, they heard Ning Buxu's voice again. There's a large wave of fish beasts ahead. Prepare to capture them. The group of cultivators. Ning Buxu, you're **King fooling us again. How many times have you done this? Fish beasts, fish beasts, fish beasts again. Angry. That's right. Every time Ning Tian gave an order on the void ship, they would listen attentively, thinking that there would definitely be treasures. However, this Ning Buxu was too much. He only wanted to capture fish beasts every time. Fish beasts were nothing compared to treasures. On the void ship, Ning Tian waved his hand, and spiritual energy flowed out and surged toward the seawater below. Then, a group of fish beasts with shining scales were all caught. After throwing away a few smaller fish beasts, Ning Tian's lips curled into a satisfied smile. Ha ha! Golden light fish. This fish's meat is delicious. It's very good. When the group of cultivators heard this, they were instantly filled with resentment. TSK, eat until you die. They glanced at the group of golden light fish with disdain. Weren't they just fish beasts? How many spirit coins could they be sold for? However, on the void ship, Ning Tian's voice became softer. He smiled and said to the girls, "Hee, these are golden light fish. They have fish pearls in their bodies. The fish pearls can warm spiritual energy. This is good stuff." Along the way, he used his navigation talent to discover many fish beasts with treasures. Unfortunately, these cultivators didn't believe him. Look at how kind he was. He clearly told these cultivators that these fish beasts were good treasures, but they didn't believe him. They couldn't blame him for not telling them. It seems that I'm really a good person. Come, try this fish pearl. This should be a 100,000-year-old fish. As for this one, it's not much. It's a 90,000-year-old fish beast. Ning Tian looked at the fish pearls and distributed them to the girls. He said with a smile, "Yueyao, you have to eat more." Why? Su Yueyao blinked. "Well, these fish pearls can enrich the chest," Ning Tian said seriously. He glanced at Su Yueyao and Luo Wuqing's chest and said quietly, "Your chest hasn't reached the level of ruthlessness yet." Su Yueyao was silent for a moment. She rolled her eyes at Ning Tian and then wolfed down the food. "Wife, do you want to eat some?" Ning Tian looked at Luo Wuqing with a smile. "No, no need." Luo Wuqing lowered his head to take a look. Then, he held his forehead and shook his head. At the side, Bai Lu hugged the death bell and lowered her head. She looked at her ordinary body with a puzzled expression. "Chest, what is that?" Chapter 458. Soon when the group truly entered the Endless Sea realm, everyone clearly sensed a strange power enveloping the entire Void battleship. "We've finally entered the true Endless Sea." Ning Tian stretched his back and looked at the Endless Sea. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Then, he grabbed at the air around him and opened his hand. A wisp of black gas flowed out from his hand. "It's indeed the aura of the rules. No wonder there are so many restrictions," Ning Tian murmured. Since there was the aura of the rules, could it be that there was also a life-forbidden zone in the Endless Sea realm? He frowned slightly and was a little puzzled. Then, he shook his head and said to the girls, "Forget it, let's continue forward." "Okay." Luo Wuqing nodded slightly. Then, she moved her hand slightly and waved it gently. The demigod power instantly enveloped the entire void ship. The power that made everyone feel uncomfortable also dissipated in an instant. These heaven and earth rules were not strong and did not have much effect on Ning Tian and the others. However, on the other hand, the group of cultivators following behind the void ship were in a miserable state. While they were resisting these forces, even the speed of the spirit commandeering ship had slowed down slightly. This way, they wouldn't be able to hear the words of Ning Tian's group on the void ship. "Okay." Ning Tian opened the soundproof barrier and looked at Bai Lu, who was hugging the death bell quietly. He said, "Bai Lu, can you tell me about the so-called reincarnation Tao God now?" Reincarnation Tao God. He had always had doubts about this existence and his relationship with Bai Lu. However, when he asked Bai Lu, she kept her mouth shut and only said that she would answer when they reached the Endless Sea realm. Therefore, Ning Tian did not force her. Since they had reached the Endless Sea realm, it was time to answer his doubts. On the side, Bai Lu was silent. Then, she hugged the death bell and squatted in the corner to draw a few circles. Then, she carefully put away the small branch that Ning Tian gave her, and walked over quietly to look at the people who were staring at her. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian narrowed his eyes slightly. To Bai Lu, drawing circles seemed to be a way to dispel depression and other negative emotions. Could it be that she also had unbearable memories of this reincarnation Dao God? Dao God reincarnation. Bai Lu hugged Death Bell and slowly said, "It was him who created me?" He's your father? Ning Tian frowned. Bai Lu. The girl was silent for a moment. Then, she hugged the dead Bell and hid in the corner. She drew a circle and cursed fellow Taoist Ning. "You," Luo Wuqing gave Ning Tian a supercilious look. "Don't bully Bai Lu." "I didn't bully her." Ning Tian's face darkened. Husband, I think what Bai Lu said should be that the reincarnation Dao God created the Death Bell, and she is the artifact spirit of the Death Bell. Therefore, she is equivalent to the creation of the reincarnation Dao God. Sui Weiyao giggled. Ovo. Bai Lu hugged the Death Bell and hid behind Sui Weiyao, nodding. "I see. But I don't think there's anything wrong with my understanding." Ning Tian scratched his head and muttered, instantly causing the two girls to roll their eyes. Next, Bai Lu said a lot more about the reincarnation Dao God. However, according to her, she only knew a part of it. Perhaps in the 2 million years in the black soil dead mountain, part of her memory seemed to have been sealed by someone. Broken burial dust. Buried gods and devils, buried close friends, buried relatives, tsk. Although the reincarnation body is not as powerful as the heavenly god body, it is still considered a powerful physique. After listening to Bai Lu's words, Ning Tian clicked his tongue and sighed. It seemed that this reincarnation Dao God was also a ruthless person. The stronger he was, the more Ning Tian looked forward to it. Because of this, he could obtain even more benefit. This trip was not in vain. However, according to what you said, the reincarnation Dao God has already fallen for tens of thousands of years. Bai Lu, why do you still want to look for him? Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu and frowned. To say thank you. There was no emotion in Bai Lu's eyes, only calmness. She hugged the Death Bell with a serious face. All right. I got it. Ning Tian nodded slightly and looked at Bai Lu. Don't worry, I will let you pass on this thank you. Ovo. Bai Lu hugged the Death Bell and nodded seriously. She said very seriously, since fellow Taoist Ning is so good, then I won't draw circles to curse you this time. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth twitched. So you are cursing me by drawing circles? Boom. At this moment, not far away in the sea, a roar sounded. Following that, hundreds of meters tall waves soared into the sky and slammed towards the surrounding cultivators. Soon, many of the cultivators' spirit commandeering ships flipped over. Ah! In the sea! There's something in the sea! Save me! Waves of screams sounded continuously. Soon, the sea was scarlet red. The sky above the sea suddenly darkened. Then, a gigantic shadow that was hundreds of meters tall soared into the sky. Its red eyes stared at everyone like a giant octopus. Its sharp tentacles flickered back and forth between the group of cultivators, splashing blood everywhere. It's a sea beast. Life-taking sea witch. Seeing the sea beast soaring into the sky, many of the surrounding cultivators' expressions changed drastically. They circulated their spirit energy to resist. However, the sea was a natural battlefield for sea beasts. Those strange tentacles appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Every time they appeared, they would take away the lives of cultivators. It's actually a sea beast with 1,000,000 years of cultivation. On the void ship, looking at the life-taking sea witch that caused monstrous waves in front of him, Ning Tian couldn't help but be a little surprised. After circulating his navigation talent and understanding the weakness of the sea beast, the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. He crossed his arms and muttered to himself while looking at the sea beast. This 1,000,000-year-old sea beast. I can make a barbecued octopus foot for my wife. octopus meatballs for my concubine, and octopus yaki for Bai Lu. What do you think? Not far away, a group of cultivators who were struggling in the waves rolled their eyes when they heard this. Come on. This is a sea beast with 1,000,000 years of cultivation. Can't you respect it a little? Even if you're Ning Buksu, you can't insta-kill it. Just as the group of cultivators was about to go crazy, they suddenly heard the sound of a death bell. Then, accompanied by the sound of an ancient flute and a demigod emperor's aura, the ferocious sea beast collapsed with a bang. Boom! Its vitality dissipated instantly. An emperor-level sea beast is gone just like that? The group of cultivators widened their eyes and were dumbfounded. F***CK? It was really insta-killed? Alright. Husband, it's settled. Luo Wuqing calmly retracted his aura and sat back on the void ship. Well done. You're in for a treat later. This is a 1,000,000-year-old sea beast. I hope its meat isn't too old. Ning Tian chuckled. With 3 demigods attacking together, even a 1,000,000-year-old sea beast would be insta-killed. Author's words. It's almost 1,000,000 words, and this is the first time I've written 1,000,000 words. Most importantly, I've maintained my results quite well. I'm very grateful to all of you. To be honest, now that I've written 1,000,000 words, I'm feeling a little lost. Sometimes I'm afraid that if I don't write 1,000,000 words well, all my previous efforts will be in vain. I don't know how the plot has been recently. In short, I'm a little confused. After all, this is the first time I've written so many words. Chapter 459. After all, even if it had a cultivation of 1,000,000 years, it was only a sea beast. Although sea beasts could live for a long time, it didn't mean that they were extremely powerful. Even Di Wuji's dragon general was only a 3-tribulation great emperor. Although the 1,000,000-year-old sea shaman in front of him had the strength of a 2nd tribulation great emperor. However, the result of 3 demigod realm experts attacking at the same time was obvious. When the vitality in the sea shaman's eyes dissipated, its huge body fell into the sea, but half of its body was still floating on the surface of the sea. Although the sea was shallow, it also had a lot to do with its huge body. Waves rose in the sea. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated at this time, and the sun shone down again. Except for the blood of many cultivators in the sea and the huge corpse of the sea beast, everything seemed to have returned to normal. This sea beast, it doesn't seem to be very strong. Ning Tian stood on the deck, looked at the sea shaman, and muttered to himself. When the cultivators heard this, their faces turned red with anger. Please! Ning Buksu, say something reasonable. Damn you! The sea beast is only equivalent to a 2nd tribulation great emperor, and it hasn't even fully displayed its power. You didn't give it any chance and directly sent 3 demigod realm experts? 3 demigod realm experts, in the 9 regions, except for the life forbidden zone and some top forces. Who can stop you? Damn it. That evil Ning Buksu? It's okay that he has a beautiful woman by his side. And all of them are demigod realm experts. It's ridiculous. Damn, is he the chosen one? Not far away, a group of cultivators who were lucky enough to survive were jealous. On the void ship, Ning Tian hummed a little tune and used his spiritual energy to lift the sea beast that was hundreds of meters long. Then, he took out the red cloud sword that he hadn't used for a long time and began to cut the huge sea beast. Now, with the increase of his strength, the red cloud sword had completely become an immortal artifact. Its appearance was no longer rusty. The sword was red as if it was burning bright red blood. At first glance, it was the best sword in the village. However, unfortunately, Ning Tian had too many tricks up his sleeves, so he never had the chance to use Crimson Firmament. Now that he finally had the chance, he could use it to cut the sea beast's meat. Okay, the Scarlet Heaven Sword is easy to use. It's perfect for cutting meat. Ning Tian operated his spirit chi and commanded the scarlet heaven sword to unceasingly cut the huge sea beast's body. The sharp sword chi easily cut the thick flesh of the sea beast into pieces. Fuck! This Ning Buxu is using a low-grade immortal weapon to cut meat? Is there anything more ridiculous than this? Seeing this, the cultivators' mouths twitched. As expected of you, Ning Buxu. This sea beast is really big. It shouldn't be able to eat so much meat. After Ning Tian casually cut up a few portions, he glanced at the mountain of meat. This was a million-year-old meat. Not only was it delicious, but it also contained rich spiritual energy. It would be a pity to just throw it away. Wife, Ning Tian suddenly thought of something. He looked at Luo Wuqing and said, "Let me borrow your daybreak mirror." The daybreak mirror was the most precious treasure of the Tianma cult. Nothing could hide from the daybreak mirror, and it could also absorb everything. Luo Wuqing frowned slightly. She was a little confused, but she still flipped her hand slightly. A transparent mirror appeared in her hand. She handed it over and looked at Ning Tian in confusion. "Husband, what are you doing?" You'll know in a moment." Ning Tian chuckled and took the daybreak mirror. He operated it and placed the mountain of sea beast's meat into it. The daybreak mirror was an immortal weapon. Not only could it contain everything, but it also contained rich spiritual energy. It could definitely ensure that the meat would not go bad. It was much better than putting it in a storage ring. Ning Buxu is using a high-grade immortal weapon to store meat. There is something even more ridiculous. The group of cultivators felt a dull pain in their heart. Were immortal weapons so worthless to Ning Buxu? Seeing Ning Tian use the most precious treasure of the Tianma cult to store the sea beast's meat, Luo Wuqing helplessly held her forehead. However, she did not stop him. She only said in her heart, "Ancestors of the Tianma cult, I can't do anything about my husband. So, I can only apologize to you." Everything was done. Ning Tian looked at the three women and smiled. "You can look forward to it. This million-year-old sea beast's meat is definitely delicious. Can this thing really be eaten?" Looking at the unprocessed sea beast's meat and its sticky appearance, Sui Weiyao frowned slightly. She did not dare to agree with Ning Tian's words. "Don't worry. This thing might be able to enrich your mind." "Weiyao, are you sure you don't want to eat it?" Ning Tian's eyes flashed with ridicule. Sui Weiyao was silent for a moment. Then, she raised her head and looked at Ning Tian very seriously. "Hubby, please make more for me." She looked at Luo Wuqing. She really wanted to eat that chest. I also want to have a big chest." On the side, Bai Lu was holding the death bell. When she heard this word again, she was suddenly curious. However, before she could finish speaking, Luo Wuqing covered her mouth. "Bai Lu, you can't have such thoughts. You will be led astray by this bad guy." Luo Wuqing said seriously to Bai Lu. Degree? Bai Lu was stunned for a moment. Then, she nodded seriously. "I will listen to the Empress. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Ning to want to harm me. I thought he was a good person." As she spoke, she took out the small branch Ning Tian gave her. Then, the situation became an uncontrollable cursing incident. Ning Tian spread his hands, indicating that he was used to it. Then, he began to process the sea beast meat. For a time, the void ship was filled with fragrance and laughter. However, 100 meters away, a group of cultivators was like a drowned rat. They desperately resisted the aura of the rules of the endless ocean while healing their injuries. Although they were only 100 meters away, it was like heaven on one side and hell on the other. The group of cultivators was extremely resentful. Good heavens! We are in a sorry state here, and Ning Buxu is playing a song? The most important thing was, after that guy cooked the meat, it had a unique fragrance. Even people like them who were fasting felt hungry. However, they could only smell it and not eat it. Now, they were cold and hungry. While resisting the rules of the endless ocean, They also had to be careful of the attacks of sea beasts and sea demons. On the void ship, on the deck. Hubby, isn't this too delicious? Sui Weiao, who just felt that the sea beast meat was ugly, no longer cared about her ladylike image and ate the meat in big mouthfuls. That was made by your hubby. It was rare for Ning Tian to be a little proud. After all, it felt really good to be able to act cool in front of his wife. Chapter 460. At the side, Luo Wuqing and Bai Lu were eating slowly, but the happy expression on their faces was enough to prove that they approved of Ning Tian's culinary skills very much. Seeing that the three women were extremely satisfied, Ning Tian also revealed a smile. Hiss! My culinary skills are so good, why don't I just change my profession and become a chef? He thought in his heart. System. Did I bind you to make you change your profession to become a chef? Haha. I'm kidding. Ning Tian laughed in his heart. The system is unbinding. Please wait, Ning Tian. The system snorted proudly. Humph, I'm kidding. Forget it, you'd better unbind yourself. After you come out of my head, I'll let my first wife dismantle you. Cough, cough. Host, let's chat later. This system will leave first. In his mind, the system began to play dead with a beat. Seeing this, Ning Tian's lips curled into a smug smile. Small fry. Fighting with your host? After winning the small theater with the system, Ning Tian stretched and looked at Sha Tian, who was trembling and drooling, saying, Don't worry, Sha Tian, you will definitely have something to eat. With that, he took out a portion of sea beast meat and handed it to the Sealing Flame Lion King. Woohoo! The Sealing Flame Lion King shouted excitedly. Haha! Master Lion King is the first lion to eat a million-year-old sea beast. Next, it wolfed down the food. After a while, it licked its lips, looked at Ning Tian and roared a few times. You mean, what part of the sea beast is this? Oh, this is the sea beast's brain. Didn't you say that you can replenish whatever you eat? Oh, Ning Tian said casually. Roar? The Sealing Flame Lion King's heart trembled and then waved its hand to comfort itself. Roar, lion language. How is this possible? Master Lion King is unparalleled in wisdom. How is this possible? However, before the Lion King could finish its sentence, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind. You have shocked the Sealed Flame Lion King. The Sealed Flame Lion King's IQ has decreased by 1. Ning Tian, come on. With his IQ reduced, Sha Tian couldn't even speak lion language. Don't talk anymore. Eat some sea beast brains to nourish yourself. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at the Lion King. He then took out a few basins of sea beast brains for the Lion King to eat. After a few bites, the Lion King's intelligence returned. Roar! Master Lion was scared to death. Just now, she seemed to have heard Master Lion say, "Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba." The Lion King's fur trembled, and it muttered to itself before it transformed back into a lion. Ning Tian smiled at Bai Lu when he saw them eating happily. He said kindly, Miss Bai Lu, what do you think of this meat? Is it delicious? Bai Lu nodded with a serious face. Due to the limitations of her body, she couldn't eat it directly. She could only turn the sea beast meat into energy and then eat it by absorbing it. It was the same with the tea last time. However, this didn't stop her from thinking that this sea beast meat was delicious. If it's so delicious, can you let me touch the death bell? Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu with a smile and said tentatively, touch the death bell? Bai Lu was stunned for a moment. She put down the sea beast meat in her hand and then picked up the death bell with vigilance. She stared at Ning Tian. Fellow Taoist Ning, you really have bad intentions. Sister Empress is right. You are a bad person. Asterisk. Finished. This girl hugged the death bell and squatted in the corner. Needless to say, she must have drawn a circle to curse fellow Taoist Ning. Ning Tian. What the hell? Why did I become a bad person because of you? Didn't I just want to touch the death bell? Hee, Sui Weiao giggled and put down the bowl and chopstick. She wiped the corner of her mouth and looked at Ning Tian. Hubby, you really have bad intentions towards Bai Lu. You have to understand that the death bell is equivalent to Bai Lu's body. If you touch the death bell, it's equivalent to, cough. Ning Tian coughed dryly. It's over, I forgot about this matter. My dear husband, do you have anything else to explain? Luo Wuqing smiled and narrowed his eyes, looking at Ning Tian with a kind face. Wife, you're laughing at me. Ning Tian squeezed out a dry smile. However, Luo Wuqing didn't give him any chance and directly gave him a punishment that Ning Tian was most familiar with. He reached out, grabbed the head and pressed down. His movements were smooth and terrifying. Humph! Luo Wuqing snorted and suffocated this bad guy. Hee on the side, Sui Weiao, who was watching this scene, giggled. Her melodious voice sounded like a silver bell. Wuqing, you should use more force. That way, this old pervert will learn a lesson. As expected of his concubine, she tried her best to help him take advantage of her. Ning Tian secretly gave her a thumbs up, but he still struggled to raise his head from Luo Wuqing's arms and said seriously, I have to clarify, I'm not an old pervert. I'm not old. Grandmaster is forever 18 years old. 18, my ass. However, before he could finish his sentence, he was pulled back by Luo Wuqing and pressed down on him. Great. The punishment of the Luo family that hadn't been seen for a long time. Not far away, Ning Tian's painful screams could be heard from the void ship. A group of cultivators rejoiced in his misfortune. Hee, Ning Buxu, you've finally received your punishment. Unfortunately, they didn't know that this punishment was very gentle. Several hours later, the void ship had entered the silent ocean abyss of the endless sea area. According to Bai Lu, after sailing past the silent ocean abyss, they would arrive near the place where Tao God reincarnation was buried. Well, it's time to get up. Ning Tian got up from Su Yueyao's lap pillow and stretched lazily. He looked at the group of cultivators behind him and frowned. These guys are still following me. They're really persistent. Next, they were going to get down to business. He couldn't let these guys follow him. Do you need me to deal with them? On the side, Luo Wuqing's cold voice sounded. No need. Ning Tian smiled. Grandmaster is a good person. How can he kill people? Then he went to the stern of the ship and looked at the group of cultivators. His hearty voice sounded. Everyone, that's enough. Go back. By the way, a friendly reminder, don't sail in the southwest direction. There will be a murderous sea storm soon. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Tian snapped his fingers, and the void ship's kinetic energy increased rapidly. Soon, it was far away from everyone's sight. Damn, Ning Buxu left just like that? The group of cultivators stood rooted to the ground, dumbfounded. They didn't get any benefits at all. What should we do now? Some cultivators were puzzled. Ning Buxu must have gone to the place he mentioned just now to scare us. There must be treasures there. If we go now, we might be able to get something to recoup our losses. Let's go. An old cultivator analyzed Ning Buxu's words and snorted. How could Ning Buxu deceive them? What a joke. Dozens of minutes later, as Ning Buxu said, a murderous sea storm arose in the southwest sea area. Well, Ning Buxu had never cheated others. However, someone was trying to cheat him. Author's words. I've updated 2 chapters. There's one more. If it's not out by 7 in the morning, there's no need to wait. You won't be able to stay up and go to sleep. What do you think of this plot? Finally, I'm asking for money. Chapter 461. Endless Sea Region, Quiet Ocean Abyss. The sea was calm and the surroundings were quiet. A huge ship slowly sailed into it. Except for a ripple, it didn't break the peace here. The surroundings, everything was quiet and scary. Husband, We've entered the quiet ocean abyss. On the deck, Luo Wuqing sensed the surroundings with her spirit chi and frowned slightly. When we reach the quiet ocean abyss, the surrounding laws of heaven and earth are even richer. The range of spirit chi perception is only 1 kilometer. And this place has become different. Ning Tian nodded slightly while a wisp of a solemn expression flashed through his eyes. If the ocean was said to be relatively calm just now, then the current peaceful oceanic abyss was like a surging undercurrent. Beneath the calm was boundless killing intent. Pay attention. Ning Tian turned around and looked at the girls. And got it. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao both nodded heavily. Even Bai Lu stopped drawing circles. Instead, he held Death Bell and floated quietly to the side. Sha Tian, maintain the current speed and continue to move towards the quiet ocean abyss. Roar! On the deck, a lion's roar came. Soon, the void ship had completely entered the quiet ocean abyss. On the surface of the sea, it was unknown when it began to fill the air. Their line of sight was almost completely blocked. Looking from afar, they could only see a pale white sea fog. Sea fog? Ning Tian frowned. At this time, in the sea fog there seemed to be a woman's voice. The voice was mellow as if narrating a sad story. Accompanied by the voice, the sea fog in the sky dissipated by half. The entire sea dimmed, and there seemed to be a bright moon shining in the sea fog. Bright moon? Su Yueyao frowned slightly and looked at the bright moon in confusion. I remember when we just entered the quiet ocean abyss, it should still be daytime. How can time pass so quickly? Could it be this is an illusion? Is it related to this strange song? Hearing this, the few people on the void ship had a dignified look. Could it be, is it the Sea Demon clan's doing? No, at this time, Ning Tian pondered for a long time. He operated the laws in his eyes and looked at the bright moon in the sky. This is not an illusion, but a real bright moon. Silent song, bright moon rising sea. Silent song, bright moon rising sea? Hearing Ning Tian's words, the girls were stunned. Ning Tian nodded slightly, but did not explain. Instead, she walked towards Luo Wuqing and gently touched her hair. Then, she raised her hand slightly. Her hand seemed to be wet and there was a bit of mist. Mist? Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes flashed with doubt. She frowned slightly. That's strange. With my strength, it's impossible for the sea fog to stay on my body, because of time. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. I didn't expect to encounter the time law in the endless sea realm. Time laws? The girls were stunned. Because of the heavenly god body, I can sense the laws very clearly. This time law is only mobilized for a few hours. A few hours doesn't affect cultivators at our level, so you can't sense it. But through small details like the sea fog, I can still see that time passes in an instant, Ning Tian said slowly, a glimmer of light flashing in his eyes. He didn't expect to encounter the time law here. It seemed that he and the time law were destined to meet. Let's go, Sha Tian. Let's go into the sea fog. I want to see which Sea Demon clan can control the time law. Ning Tian instructed the flame-sealing Lion King. This sea demon's control of the time law wasn't strong. It could only mobilize a small part of time, but it still mastered it. Roar! Flame-sealing Lion Monarch roared, and steered the void ship toward the thick sea mist. In front of them, in the sea fog, the song was getting closer and closer. Honey, look over there. There's a figure on the reef. At this moment, Su Yueyao seemed to have seen something. She pointed ahead and hurriedly said to Ning Tian. A figure? The people on the void ship looked over. When the void ship got closer, they did see a figure, and they saw it clearly. It was a slender woman. She was half sitting on the reef. Her proud upper body was completely covered in clothes made of scales, and even a trace of white tenderness was exposed. In her hand was a conch. It was the melodious song that came from the conch. After a long time, the melodious singing came to an abrupt end. Fellow cultivators, my singing isn't bad, right? The woman gently stroked the conch in her hand and looked up at the people on the void ship. She didn't seem surprised by their arrival at all. The moment she looked up, her almond-shaped eyes sparkled. Her beauty was stunning. Although her appearance couldn't compare to the 3 women on the void ship, she was still devastatingly beautiful. Coupled with her perfect figure, she was simply a stunner. She was quite good. Ning Tian nodded slightly as she sized up the woman with an unbridled gaze. Am I beautiful? The woman sitting on the reef gently pulled open the scales, revealing half of her tenderness. She had a charming smile on her face. Quite beautiful. Ning Tian nodded. Thank you for your praise. The woman smiled. She glanced at the women on the void ship, and a hint of greed appeared in her eyes. No, Ning Tian shook his head and said indifferently, I'm not complimenting you. The skin on your body should be from a human cultivator, right? Also, the song in the conch was probably extracted from a living person into the conch. The Sea Charm Mermaid clan of the Sea Demons? How did you know? The woman sitting on the reef below suddenly changed her expression. She was shocked, as if she didn't expect this person to be able to see through her origin with a single glance. You've shocked the Sea Charm Mermaid clan. Acquired skill. Deep dive. Combat ability in the sea increased by 50%. The system's voice sounded in his mind. It also announced that the sea was not the main battlefield of the sea beasts. You don't need to know. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled into a kind smile. A wisp of spiritual energy transformed into a giant palm that grabbed towards the woman on the reef. Young miss from the Sea Charm Mermaid clan, why don't we have a chat? How do you know the laws of time? Boom. The spiritual energy turned into a giant palm and stirred up 3,000 waves. It rushed toward the woman continuously. The law of time? Who exactly are you? The woman's expression changed slightly. Then, she waved her jade-like hand, and a series of rumbling sounds came from the abyss. The seawater became extremely violent, and huge creatures soared into the sky with monstrous waves. At a glance, they were all sea beasts. There were more than 100 of them. Even the huge void ship seemed small when surrounded by more than 100 sea beasts. Looks like I'll have to waste some time to deal with these sea beasts, Ning Tian murmured. Behind him, the spiritual energy on the 3 women's bodies quietly flowed out. Roar. The sea beasts had already attacked. I need banknotes. Chapter 462. Boom. The surface of the sea was no longer calm. Waves that were dozens of meters high surged. The roars of the sea beasts could be heard from the surging spiritual energy. Even the void ship was affected. Sha Tian, you stabilize the void ship. Leave the rest to us. Ning Tian looked at the flame-sealing Lion King who was steering the ship. He didn't need the little lions to do anything. He just needed to stabilize the void ship. Roar. The flame-sealing Lion King nodded heavily. His figure suddenly changed again. Golden red light circulated all over his body. Leave it to Master Lion. The sky darkened. All the sea fog came from the sky. Countless red eyes flickered in the surroundings. Even the bright moon in the sky was blocked by the huge figures of the sea beasts. The strange aura in the surroundings circulated even more fiercely. Go! Crush all these human cultivators. At this moment, the sea demon girl didn't dare to hesitate. The conch in her hand flickered. She directly ordered the hundreds of sea beasts around to attack the void ship. Roar, roar. Roar, the sea beasts kept roaring. Although this group of sea beasts was strong, they didn't seem to be very intelligent. Conch? When the conch in the sea demon girl's hand flickered and the surrounding sea beasts rioted, Ning Tian withdrew his gaze. His eyes flashed with a thoughtful light. However, the most important thing now was to deal with all the sea beasts in front of him. Let's do it. Looking at the hundreds of ferocious sea beasts around him, Ning Tian's expression remained calm. He said softly to Luo Wuqing and the other women. Okay, The women nodded slightly. There are hundreds of sea beasts. Even the weakest one is equivalent to a first tribulation great emperor. It's not that easy to deal with them. The sea demon girl snorted coldly. She gently stroked the conch in her hand. Her eyes fell on Luo Wuching and the other women. Her eyes were full of greed. The skin of 3 beautiful women was enough for her to take turns for a long time. Is that so? Luo Wuching's mouth curved into a smile. She took a step forward and gently raised her hand. She pressed down on a group of sea beasts that were charging at her. Boom! In an instant, the emperor's might carried the might of a demigod, stirring up 3,000 layers of waves and crashing down heavily. Roar! The armor-like skin of the sea beast at the very front was instantly shattered, causing cracks to appear on its skin. Blood continuously spurted out from the cracks, dyeing the surface of the sea red. Demigod expert? The sea demon maiden's expression changed, and her eyes were filled with uncertainty. She muttered to herself, if it's a demigod, then my sea beast should be able to, before he could finish his sentence. He saw. On the surface of the sea, the aura shook violently. Then, she saw Sui Weiao and Bai Lu attack as well. Roar, along with the sea beast's painful cry, the siren's daughter was awakened from her daze. Three demigod experts? She was a little confused. Since when did demigod realm experts leave so casually? Furthermore, 3 venerable ones at once? Could it be were they also here for the ruins? The sea monster's daughter was startled, but at this moment, she heard the young man's hearty laughter. Wife, don't be so violent. That piece of meat should be good for barbecue. Little wife, I don't want that piece of meat. It doesn't look delicious. Bai Lu, what's that move of yours? You're drawing circles. Will it cause any damage? Hearing these words, the siren's daughter was stunned for a moment. Then, her heart instantly went crazy. This guy actually treated these sea beasts as food? These sea beasts were comparable to great emperor-level experts. Damn it, the siren's daughter clenched her teeth. The sea beasts around her were completely one-sided. Those women could easily crush the sea beasts she had summoned with a wave of their hands. It was as easy as blowing off dust. Shameless! You only dare to hide behind women. What kind of ability is that? Looking at Ning Tian, who was talking and laughing on the void ship, the siren's daughter's eyes were filled with anger. She gritted her teeth and said angrily. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth curved up. He looked at the siren's daughter with a smile. They are my women. Being able to make them my women is a kind of ability. The siren's daughter was silent. She clenched her teeth. Thinking about it carefully, what he said didn't seem to be a problem. Her ancestor forced himself to live off women? Bai Lu silently raised his hand. I'm not, Carrot. You shameless. The siren's daughter clenched her teeth and glared at Ning Tian. Thank you for the compliment, Ning Tian said with a smile. The siren's daughter. This human cultivator is very handsome. But isn't he a little too shameless? If you don't like me, continue to summon more sea beasts and kill me. Ning Tian smirked. You. The siren's daughter looked around. Almost all the sea beasts were killed. Her eyes flashed with anger. The conch in her hand flashed with a cold light. Then, she gently patted it. A strange sound was heard. Boom. Boom. In an instant, the entire sea began to shake again. The scarlet sea water surged with monstrous waves. In the bottomless sea abyss, several giant figures emerged. I was saving this for the divine artifact key. But now I'll use it to deal with you. The siren's daughter snorted. The aura coming from the depths of the sea abyss was close to that of a demigod. Although it was not as strong as a demigod, it was still strong enough to fight against a demigod in the sea. Divine artifact key? Ning Tian's eyes flashed. The smirk on his face disappeared instantly. The corners of his mouth curled up and he became serious. However, I was waiting for you to summon the sea beasts. The siren's daughter was stunned. At this moment, a guzheng appeared in Ning Tian's hand. The immortal slashing guzheng floated in front of him. He smiled. The waves were too big just now. I didn't hear your Tao of music clearly. Now I finally heard it clearly. What? You tricked me, you tramp? The siren's daughter panicked at first, but she quickly regained her composure. So what if you know that I'm using the Tao of music to control the sea beasts? How can a human like you control my race's Tao of music? What's more, the Tao of music just now happened in the blink of an eye. It's impossible for you to control it. I'm sorry. What you think is impossible is possible in my eyes. Ning Tian's lips curled up into a confident smile. At this moment, his fingers landed on the immortal slashing guzheng. Tao of music, activate, zheng. In the next moment, a sound wave that the siren's daughter was very familiar with spread out. Roar! The giant figures in the depths of the sea abyss suddenly stopped. Sea beasts are just beasts after all. Ning Tian chuckled. His fingers plucked the strings of the guzheng and instantly put it down. Zheng. At this moment, the siren's daughter clearly felt that the line she used to control the sea beasts was cut off. Wife, take her down. Ning Tian looked at the siren's daughter indifferently. Luo Wuqing's figure moved. He took a step forward and directly arrived in front of the siren's daughter. Chapter 463. What do you want to do? The siren's daughter, who was sitting on the reef, trembled when she saw Luo Wuqing appear in front of her. That terrifying aura almost made her unable to breathe. This kind of pressure, this kind of coldness, it was even colder than the deepest part of the quiet oceanic abyss. Shut up. Luo Wuqing's expression was indifferent. He grabbed the siren lady and returned to the void ship in a flash. He threw her heavily on the deck without any pity. Tisk. The ancients didn't lie. The mermaid clan really exists in this world. Ning Tian looked at the siren lady who was thrown on the ground. In addition to her proud upper body, her lower body was extremely attractive. Her shimmering fishtail was constantly slapping the deck. The siren lady stared at them, not daring to say a word. Without the sea beasts, she was merely a 6-star divine emperor. It would be a piece of cake for the few people present to kill her. Tell me, the law of time and the so-called divine tool key. Ning Tian looked at the siren lady indifferently and asked. The siren lady was silent, but she knew that even if she didn't say anything, Ning Tian would find a way to find out. She couldn't see through this man, but she understood a lot from the way he played the music Tao. Nonsense won't save her, so she might as well tell him the truth. The law of time was found in a relic in the deepest part of the quiet oceanic abyss. Just a trace of the heavenly Tao was leaked, and many of our siren clansmen have mastered it. The siren lady said slowly. When we wanted to go deeper into the relic, we found that there was a seal on the relic. The only thing that could unlock the seal was the most precious treasure of the siren clan. We called it the divine tool key. So, we didn't hesitate to alarm the sea beasts to find the divine tool key and open the relic. Relic? Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed as if he thought of something. If what the siren said was true, and a trace of the laws of heaven leaked out from the ruins could allow her to master the laws of time, then the ruins were indeed terrifying. Fellow Taoist, you see, I've already said what I wanted to say. Can you spare my life? The siren's daughter looked at Ning Tian. Ning Tian gave him a look that said, You must be dreaming. Perhaps. I am willing to serve you, fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, you have not tasted the taste of the mermaid clan, right? Slurp, the siren lady lifted one of her slender fingers and placed it between her red lips. Then, she gently pulled open the scales in front of her body, and her dazzling white skin broke free. It even swayed a little. The taste of mermaids? Ning Tian rubbed his chin and thought about it seriously. He looked at the siren's daughter and said, You mean, should we braise or steam? The siren's daughter was stunned for a moment. Then, she rolled her eyes at Ning Tian in a flirtatious manner. Of course, it's the pleasure between men and women, bang. Before she finished speaking, a cold demigod emperor's aura landed on her body. Suddenly, the vitality in her eyes dissipated. Humph! Luo Wuqing snorted coldly. Bang! Bang! At this moment, another 2 demigods aura whipped the corpse. Don't ask why there were 2. It was because Miss Bai Lu had to follow the big team closely. Sigh. You're alive and well. Why do you want to seduce me? Ning Tian spread his hands and casually cleaned up the deck. Then, he looked at Bai Lu. Bai Lu, could the relic she mentioned be the relic of the reincarnation Tao God? Perhaps. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and pondered for a while. Then, she nodded. In other words, reincarnation is actually a kind of time law. The two should be related. Perhaps the relic discovered by the Siren clan is the relic of the Tao God. Is that so? Ning Tian frowned slightly and murmured, "It seems that we have to hurry up. Let's go." Ning Tian stretched. According to the Siren clan's daughter, the relic was in the deepest part of the quiet ocean abyss. Then, what they had to do now was to go to the bottom of the sea. They could not continue to stay on the void ship. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao nodded slightly. However, Bai Lu and the Lion King were stunned on the deck, unwilling to go into the water. And? What's wrong with the two of you? Ning Tian frowned. Oh. Ao, the fire-sealing Lion King roared a few times with a righteous look. It roared a few times in lion language. You guys go. I'll stay behind to guard the void ship. What if a thief steals the void ship? It's okay. I can take it back, Ning Tian said silently. Roar! Hearing this, the Lion King panicked. It quickly told the truth. Roar. All right. Master Lion, I don't know how to swim. Then you will stay on the void ship. What about you, Bai Lu? Ning Tian nodded slightly, looked at Bai Lu, and asked. Bai Lu was silent for a moment, ignoring Ning Tian. Her gaze lingered on Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao for a moment, and murmured, "It seems that Taoist Ning is more afraid of Big Sister Empress?" She seemed to have made up her mind, and then floated in front of Luo Wuqing, and handed the death bell in her arms to Luo Wuqing with a dignified expression. "Big Sister Empress, I will give myself to you. The seawater in the quiet ocean abyss is too cold. My artifact spirit body can't withstand it for too long." Finished. Bai Lu silently returned to the death bell. "Don't worry, I won't let this bad guy get close to you." Luo Wuqing rolled his eyes at Ning Tian and kept the death bell. Upon seeing this scene, Ning Tian rubbed his nose. Strange. I'm so kind. Why is Miss Bai Lu so afraid of me? I won't do anything to her. It's really strange. All right, Wuqing Yueyao, let's go, Ning Tian said. Before jumping into the sea, he ordered the sea beasts under his temporary control to dive into the sea and wait for his orders. Then, he took the lead and jumped into the cold sea. Seeing this, the two women followed and jumped into the sea. In the sea, 3 figures fell, causing a splash. The cold sea water instantly soaked their clothes, and the 2 women's perfect figures were instantly outlined. It was quite a wet temptation. But soon, with the circulation of spirit energy, the spirit energy around them surged, isolating them from the sea water and drying their clothes. Let's dive, Ning Tian said to the 2 women, and then his figure moved, rushing into the cold sea water. The 2 women also followed closely. The sea surface seemed to have returned to its previous calm. Only a small lion was left, wearing a straw hat and shivering. In the endless dark sea, 3 figures continued to dive. The deeper they went, the darker the light became. But fortunately, their cultivation was not bad. Even if they lost their sight, they could still rely on their perception. Author's words. There is one more update. Isn't today Saturday? Why do I feel that there are so few people? The comments and banknotes don't seem to have changed much. I wrote it wrong. Chapter 464. On top of a ruin. Gurgle gurgle. Ning Tian finally spat out half of the seawater in his stomach. He had to admit that the seawater of the endless sea realm had a hint of sweetness to it. It was ridiculous. Honey, can't we be slower next time? Ning Tian couldn't help but complain. Yueyao and I used our spiritual energy to protect you the entire time. At most, you drank a little seawater. Luo Wuqing rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. Then, she released Ning Tian's arms from her embrace. Under her ice-cold face, there was a trace of redness. Although this guy suffered a little, but his hands weren't idle all along the way. He had already taken all the advantages that he could take. A demigod is indeed strong. Ning Tian shook her sore hands and muttered to herself, "It's just that I don't see them being this strong during normal battles. They're begging for mercy after just a few moves." Whoosh! As soon as he said this, Luo Wuqing glared at Ning Tian with shame and indignation. These two battles couldn't be compared at all, okay? Haha, honey, since you said so, I won't be polite next time. Su Yueyao licked her red lips and looked at Ning Tian provocatively. It seemed that she was going to clear the name of demigod realm expert. Then I'll wait and see. Ning Tian spread his hands, expressing his anticipation. Luo Wuqing helplessly held her forehead. She couldn't do anything about these two old perverts, because she knew that once these two started fighting, even if she wanted to hide, she wouldn't be able to. She would definitely be dragged into the battle and be affected. By the way, we should be at the bottom of the peaceful oceanic abyss right now, right? Back to the topic, Ning Tian looked around. Except for the ruins under their feet, there were magnificent buildings all around. This made Ning Tian very suspicious. Why did these experts of the Sea Demon clan like to put ruins in the middle? Could it be ruins were their totems? Strange, didn't the Siren's daughter say that the experts of the Siren clan would gather here and use the key to open the ruins? Why can't I see a single Sea Demon tribe expert? Could it be that they sensed our presence and slipped away first? Ning Tian frowned, somewhat puzzled. But honey, your landing spot was really accurate. We just happened to land in the territory of the Sea Demon tribe. Moreover, we were extremely fast. I only drank half the seawater in my stomach before we landed. He looked at Luo Wuqing. With two demigods unleashing their full power, it's naturally very fast. Luo Wuqing said lightly. Then, he rolled his eyes at Ning Tian. What? Do you want to drink more seawater? Ahahaha. How is this possible? Ning Tian gave a hollow laugh. He was about to look around, but at this time, many auras appeared around him. His eyes turned cold and he curled his lips. It seems that the sea monster tribe still has some shrimp soldiers and crab generals to deal with. Boom. Boom boom. Around them, the sound of flowing water was heard. Figures of the Sea Demon tribe swept in all directions and surrounded Ning Tian and the other two. These Sea Demons' eyes were all red. They looked at Ning Tian and the others as if they had a deep hatred for them. Do these Sea Demons have a hobby of hating humans? Why are they staring at us so fiercely? Ning Tian frowned slightly. I don't know. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao both shrugged. Crunch, crunch. The group of Siren clansmen glared at Ning Tian and the others as they gnashed their teeth in anger. They felt like they were going crazy. If it weren't for the righteousness that descended from the heavens and smashed all the experts of the Siren clan to death, would they have such a deep hatred? Go! Eat them alive. Avenge our Siren clan's experts. A group of Sea Demon tribe experts clamored. They channeled their spirit chi and rushed toward Ning Tian and the others. What the hell? Avenge? I'm a good person. I've never killed anyone. Ning Tian spread his hands and expressed his innocence. Also, is this all the Sea Demon tribe has? Aren't they too weak? F***CK. Shameless human cultivator. A group of Sea Demons immediately cursed. You didn't kill anyone? Then what's the matter with the ruins under your feet and the Sea Demon corpses everywhere? And why are there so few people in our sea demon tribe? Don't you have any idea? Just now, the Sea King's group of sea demon clan powerhouses had at least the strength of a great emperor. But they would never have thought that when they were praying to the sea god's trident happened to coincide with the energy fluctuations of Ning Tian and the others falling. They didn't have any time to react at all. Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiao were falling at full speed, which was equivalent to the full blow of a demigod realm expert. And it was the full blow of 2 demigod realm experts. Even if they were prepared, they wouldn't be able to escape, not to mention that they didn't have time to prepare. So, due to a freak combination of factors, they died under the justice of heaven. They were probably the sea demon tribe experts who died the most unjustly. Sigh, this group of people always wrongly accuse me. I'm so kind. Do I look like someone who would kill? Ning Tian sighed without any self-awareness. Then, he raised his hand and a black light flashed in his eyes. The law of death was instantly displayed at this moment. Boom! In an instant, the law flowed out. The group of sea demon tribe experts who rushed over suddenly lost their color in their eyes. Then, they froze on the spot. There was no expression on their faces. It was as if time had stopped. But it wasn't a standstill. Their lives had been taken away. So weak, Ning Tian clapped his hands. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. No, I can't kill them so quickly, he murmured. Vitality surged in his hand. With a gentle wave, the vitality in the eyes of the group of sea demon tribe experts who had just died recovered. They were stunned on the spot. What just happened? This was the law technique that belonged to Ning Tian, judgment of life and death. I would like to ask, where is the key to the divine weapon? Ning Tian asked with a smile. It's in your. Ning Tian waved his hand and they died again. Forget it, I'd better ask clearly. Vitality emerged. The key to the divine weapon, it's in your, God, it's in. Hence, the group of sea demon tribe members died and came back to life. However, the most important thing was that they didn't know whether they were dead or alive. They only felt that their bodies were getting more and more tired. It was as if they had lost some kind of energy. I'll ask again. Where is the key to the divine weapon? If you don't tell me this time, you will really die. Ning Tian's lips curled into a dangerous arc. The group of sea demon tribe experts panted. Obviously, they were weak. What was this? Damn it. Didn't you just ask once? Indeed. As far as they knew, Ning Tian had only asked this question once. It's in. Just as the group of sea demon tribe members were about to answer Ning Tian's question seriously, Su Yueyao's voice sounded from the side. Hubby, stop fooling around. I seem to have found the key to the divine weapon. Oh. Ning Tian responded and waved his hand. The group of sea demon tribe experts' eyes turned completely gray. Damn it, at this moment they were finally dead. Chapter 465. Little wife, did you find the divine artifact key? Hearing Su Yueyao's words, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. He quickly walked over the ruins and came to Su Yueyao's side. At this moment, Su Yueyao was holding the sea god's trident in her hand. The trident was emitting bursts of white light. From the looks of it, it should be the sea demon tribe's supreme treasure. Ning Tian looked over and frowned slightly. He said with some doubt, but it's already in this state, is it still a divine artifact? It's a divine artifact. Luo Wuqing looked at the rusty sea god's trident and said indifferently, it just lost its divinity. Husband, don't you know the art of forging? If you have enough materials, you can try to restore its divinity. Haha. Wife, you know me best. This sea god's trident seems to be fated with me. I will give it a try. Ning Tian smiled. But, Yueyao, where did you find it? Could it be that the sea god's trident only appeared after a series of seals were broken? He looked at Su Yueyao with some doubt. Su Yueyao shook her head slightly and pointed to the ground. I picked it up from the ground. Moreover, there are many corpses of sea demon tribe experts on the ground. TSK, their deaths are really tragic. Could it be that these sea demon experts killed each other for the divine artifact key? Sigh, it's not good to fight and kill. It's good for us. Moreover, this sea god's trident seems to have attached some kind of energy to it. It's really good. These sea demon experts are really good people, Ning Tian said with a smile. In the end, the sea demon tribe's slaves were taken advantage of by them. They were really good people. Ning Tian took the sea god's trident from Sui Weiao and then looked at Luo Wuqing and said, "Wife, let Bai Lu out. We need this girl to lead the way." "Okay." Luo Wuqing nodded and waved her jade-like hand. The death bell appeared in her arms and a white figure appeared. Miss Bai Lu floated out. She stretched herself. "Wow. Have we reached the bottom of the sea?" Bai Lu looked around. "Miss Bai Lu, you couldn't have slept, right?" Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu, who looked like he had just woken up. He couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. "I drank half of the seawater here, and you're actually sleeping." "I'm not sleeping. I'm replenishing my soul power ovo," Bai Lu explained with a serious expression. "Oh, I get it. You were sleeping," Ning Tian said. Bai Lu was speechless. Then, she ignored Ning Tian and took the death bell from Luo Wuqing's hands. Then, she carefully hugged the death bell and sniffed it with her little nose. When she found that there was no smell of a certain person, she was relieved. Seeing this scene, Sui Weiao giggled and teased Ning Tian. "Honey, it seems that fellow Taoist Ning is really a bad guy in front of Bai Lu." Ning Tian's old face darkened. "Nonsense, I'm obviously a good person." "Okay, Bai Lu, we got the divine artifact key. Can you sense the secret realm of Tao God reincarnation?" After a weak explanation, Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu and decisively changed the topic. "I'll try," Bai Lu said and then narrowed her eyes slightly. Her white dress fluttered with the seawater, and the faint soul power spread out. At this moment, their eyes fell on Bai Lu. There was a certain connection between Bai Lu and Tao God reincarnation. It was more convenient for her to sense it than the others. After a while, found it. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and opened her eyes. There was a trace of excitement in her originally indifferent tone. This kind of excitement was like a little girl finding her long-lost family. "Where is it? Take us there." The three of them looked at Bai Lu. "Yes. Follow me," Bai Lu said, then carried the death bell and floated to the side of the sea. Ning Tian and Wuqing Yueyao hurriedly followed. In the quiet sea, a white figure quietly swam with the seawater. Ning Tian and the others followed behind. They were now out of the sea demon tribe's territory. This sea was even darker and quieter. Fortunately, Ning Tian was quick-witted. When he just left the sea demon tribe's territory, he took away all their luminous pearls used for illumination. Now it came in handy. Every time he walked a distance, he would throw down a luminous pearl, and the dark sea would be illuminated. "Husband, look below." Luo Wuqing swam beside Ning Tian. She looked down and said. Ning Tian looked down. The sea water should have been pitch black, but because of the luminous pearls he threw in, he could already see the scenery below clearly. There were strange statues standing in the seawater, and their faces were filled with fear, shock, and all kinds of negative emotions. "This is?" Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of doubt. These sea demon tribe statues seemed to have seen a terrifying creature. Could it be that they were petrified before they died? Ning Tian frowned. It should be. It's almost impossible for a statue to make such an expression. Luo Wuqing nodded and analyzed. These statues should have existed for more than 2 million years. On the side, Sui Weiao approached the stone statues and touched them slightly. Soon, she had a guess. "Husband, come here." She hooked her finger at Ning Tian. "Use your heavenly god body to sense it. Is there any law of heaven and earth on these stone statues?" Ning Tian swam over and sensed it slightly. His eyebrows twitched inadvertently. Yes, it's the law of time. Ning Tian pondered for a while and said. Sure enough, Su Yueyao smiled. Husband, do you remember that Bai Lu entered the Black Death Mountain 2 million years ago? I think that should be the time when she and reincarnation Tao God separated. These sea demon tribe experts have been turned into stone statues for 2 million years. Moreover, there's the law of time. What do you think? This is the masterpiece of reincarnation Tao God. Ning Tian quickly understood. A glint flashed in his eyes as he looked around. At the bottom of the sea, countless sea demon statues. All of them were made by reincarnation Tao God. I really don't know what happened at that time. Found it? At this moment, Bai Lu's exclamation came from not far away. Let's go. Seeing this, Ning Tian and the other two immediately swam toward Bai Lu. Soon, Bai Lu stopped in a dark place. Even if there was a luminous pearl here, it would be difficult to illuminate this place. Bai Lu, have you found the secret realm of reincarnation Tao God? Ning Tian held the sea god's trident in his hand and looked at Bai Lu. Bai Lu nodded. Where is it? The three asked in unison. It's under our feet. Chapter 466. At this moment, the stone door opened, but there was no seawater pouring in. It was rather strange. Yes? Hearing Ning Tian's words, Bai Lu hugged the death bell and nodded slightly. Her eyes flickered as she looked at the stone door, as if she had made up her mind. She hugged the death bell even more tightly. Let's go. Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu and smiled. Maybe, the reincarnation Tao God is inside, waiting for you to go over. Yes, Ovo. Bai Lu nodded heavily. Then, she took a deep breath. Her barren chest rose and fell slightly. She hugged the death bell and stepped into the stone door. Then I should go in too. Ning Tian looked behind him. The seawater surged, and the several 100-meter-long sea beasts were already attacking the stone door. But at the same time, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao's demigod aura erupted. Wife, remember to leave me a few pieces of good meat. After I come out of the Tao God mausoleum, I will reward you. Ning Tian chuckled and said to the two women. Then, he moved and entered the stone door with a burst of water. He was confident in the two women. A few 100-meter-long sea beasts couldn't do anything to them. Outside the stone door, waves of demigod aura erupted. The seawater fluctuated, and soon, waves of sea beasts screamed. Inside the stone door, accompanied by a burst of dazzling white light, Ning Tian subconsciously covered his eyes. Soon, the white light dissipated and he could see his surroundings clearly. This place was actually a secret realm. No wonder the seawater couldn't enter. The surroundings were empty and dark. There was no sign of Bai Lu. Bai Lu? Ning Tian tried to call out and frowned. Logically speaking, Bai Lu should have entered the stone door before him. Could it be that this girl went to find the reincarnation Tao God first? Fellow Taoist Ning, I'm here. What made Ning Tian heave a sigh of relief was that Bai Lu's voice soon came from the side. He followed the voice and walked over. There was a candle flame here. He soon saw Bai Lu hugging the death bell and squatting in front of a huge pit. Her beautiful eyes were staring at the huge pit. What are you doing? Before Ning Tian could finish his words, he saw the scene in the huge pit, and his scalp instantly went numb. In the huge pit, there were rows of stone statues, which were exactly the same as the stone statues on the seabed outside the stone gate. However, the number of demonic beasts here was 10 times that of the outside world. Moreover, it was even more lifelike, as if it was a living creature. Moreover, according to his perception, the time laws on these stone statues were even denser. These are all sea demons, Ning Tian muttered to himself as he looked into the crater. His brows furrowed. If the sea demon statue outside the stone door was accidentally formed when it was close to the mausoleum, then what about the one inside the mausoleum? Was it also formed after the intruder? But how could it be so neat? At this moment, it was as if there was a huge mystery waiting for Ning Tian to solve. Stone statue, the law of time, it's like a living thing, Ning Tian muttered to himself as he looked at the sea demon statue in the huge pit. Everything was like a string that was being unraveled by him one by one. Reincarnation Tao God? As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. He seemed to have understood something. Ha! I understand now. Ning Tian suddenly woke up. Fellow Taoist Ning, what do you understand? Bai Lu hugged the death bell and squatted at the side. She tilted her head slightly and looked at Ning Tian curiously. Bai Lu, Ning Tian stood up and looked at Bai Lu seriously. He slowly said, I want to tell you very seriously that reincarnation Tao God might not be dead. This time, it might also be his reincarnation. His reincarnation might be different from others. He needs a huge amount of vitality. And these stone statues are his vitality. Through the power of the time law, he preserved the vitality of the sea demon tribe and turned them into stone statues. As for how he did it, I don't know. Of course, this is just my guess. Not dead? It's just a kind of reincarnation? Hearing this, Bai Lu was stunned for a moment. She hugged the death bell in her arms tightly and hesitated. But I remember that he was seriously injured last time. That was the power of a heavenly god. Heavenly god. Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. Heavenly god, it was an existence above the ancestor god. The name of the realm may be a little wrong, but I can't help it. Please understand. He didn't expect reincarnation Tao God to be an existence that surpassed the ancestor god. Wouldn't that mean he was on the same level as the first wife's grandfather, heavenly god Xingyang? Perhaps, because this is just a guess. He said with a frown. A guess? Degree. Bai Lu's expression was a little confused. Actually, it's very simple to verify whether it's a guess or not. A smirk appeared at the corner of Ning Tian's mouth. He looked at the sea demon stone statues in the big pit with evil intentions. If all these stone statues are demolished, do you think reincarnation Tao God will come out? As expected of the heaven demolishing gates founder. There was only one word in his mind now. Demolish. Perhaps we can give it a try? Bai Lu indicated that she had already boarded the pirate ship. All right, let's demolish it then. Ning Tian nodded and made up his mind. It was a pity that Sha Tian wasn't here now. Otherwise, that guy would be very happy to serve him. Boom. At this moment, the originally dark surroundings were suddenly brightly lit. Then, an old voice sounded. As expected of the heavenly god body. His innate understanding of the laws is extraordinary. I'm really envious. See, what did I say? As long as we demolish his painstaking efforts, he will definitely be terrified and come out naturally. Seeing that the surroundings were brightly lit and hearing the old voice, Ning Tian spread his hands, indicating that everything was under his control. In the dark hall, a white-haired old man in plain clothes floated over. He seemed to be a soul body now. You two aren't father and daughter. I'm afraid you two are grandfather and grandson? Both of you are soul bodies. Ning Tian glanced at Bai Lu, who was hugging the death bell, and then looked at the white-haired old man who floated over. He was Tao God reincarnation and silently complained. Taoist Ning, I've said. Senior Tao God is not my father. Bai Lu resisted the urge to draw circles and patiently explained to Ning Tian. If Tao God reincarnation wasn't present, she might have gone to the corner to draw circles and curse Taoist Ning. All right. You two should catch up. After that, you should answer my questions, Ning Tian said with a shrug. Bai Lu hugged the death bell in her arms and looked at the familiar yet strange old man in front of her. She took a deep breath and slowly said, Senior Tao God. Little girl, you've finally found your way here. That old friend of yours, Death, didn't keep an eye on you. Tao God Reincarnation sighed heavily. There was a trace of helplessness in his turbid old eyes. Senior Tao God, I just want to thank you. Bai Lu slowly opened her mouth. However, before she could finish her words, Ning Tian's expression changed slightly. He moved and immediately flashed to her side and covered her mouth directly. Don't talk. Bai Lu was speechless. Carrot? Author's words. Readers, when are you going to have a holiday? Take care of your health. Chapter 467. Don't talk. Ning Tian's expression was a little serious as he glared at Bai Lu. That fierce look immediately made Bai Lu feel wronged and confused. Taoist Ning, what happened to being kind? This is not kind at all. Oh. When Ning Tian let go of Bai Lu softly said, Oh, no wonder the Death Lord didn't let you come out of the Black Death Mountain. Seeing that Bai Lu didn't speak, Ning Tian heaved a sigh of relief. A glint flashed across his eyes. At this moment, he suddenly understood why the Death Lord didn't let Bai Lu come out. Except for the fact that the Death Lord might be a lily, more importantly, he took a deep breath and looked coldly at the white-haired old man floating in the air in front of him. He said indifferently, Old Taoist, you should know that Bai Lu is now a soul. Other than the death aura, she can survive until now because of her obsession, right? At this moment, Ning Tian finally understood. Bai Lu was originally a soul that parasitized in the death bell. Other than the death aura of the Death Lord, she could survive until now because of her obsession. If saying thank you to Reincarnation Tao God was her obsession, then if she said it, her obsession would dissipate. If her obsession dissipated and she wasn't in the Black Death Mountain, then there was only one outcome for Bai Lu. And that was, if her soul dissipated, there would be no more Bai Lu in this world. Reincarnation Tao God was silent for a moment. Then, he waved his hand and the light in Bai Lu's eyes disappeared. After doing all this, he looked at Ning Tian. I just want this child to be released as soon as possible, reincarnated as soon as possible. Released? Ning Tian frowned and looked at Reincarnation Tao God. Yes. That child Bai Lu, I have always believed that she was created by me. However, that is not the case. She is merely a little girl that I encountered during the chaos of war when I was traveling the mortal realm. However, when this god met her, she was already on the verge of death. But, I saw a desire to live in that child's eyes. That kind of desire, even some cultivators don't have. At that moment, I gained a new insight into reincarnation from her. Thus, I couldn't bear to see her die like this, so I fused this child's soul into the death bell. I didn't expect her talent to be so strong that she could actually become the weapon spirit of the death bell. Her strength has also stepped into the demigod realm. Tao God Reincarnation looked at Bai Lu and sighed. Then why did you have the heart to watch her disappear? Ning Tian looked at Tao God Reincarnation in confusion. In the beginning, this child was just a mortal. It was only because he met me that he managed to live for several million years. During the cycle of reincarnation, I have witnessed the life and death of many people. Some of them lived for several million years but were depressed. Some of them lived for several dozen years without any regret. This god has often wondered if liberation is something that this child should have. Tao God Reincarnation said in a deep voice. No, you're dreaming. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at Tao God Reincarnation and said indifferently, although you saved Bai Lu's life, her future is not determined by you. It's just like a cultivator's life. Although she was born by her parents, she should be the one to choose whether she wants to be a sword cultivator or a saber cultivator. Although Bai Lu's life was started by you, the choice should be left with her. This young lady is terrifyingly naive. I'm afraid she doesn't know what kind of consequences a thank you will bring to herself. However, she still wants to say thank you to you. Do you understand? Hearing that, Tao God Reincarnation fell silent and frowned. Ning Tian circulated his spirit energy and was on guard. What if this old man became angry and attacked him? Although he could clearly sense that Tao God Reincarnation's aura was very low, it was better to be careful. Haha. The heavenly God body is indeed worthy of its reputation. At this moment, Tao God Reincarnation laughed and looked at Ning Tian with a different meaning in his eyes. Looking at Ning Tian, he felt a chill in his heart. Could this old man have some kind of bad hobby? All right, perhaps what you said makes sense. He waved his hand and the light in Bai Lu's eyes returned. The young lady hugged the death bell and was at a loss. What happened just now? However, Ning Tian and Tao God Reincarnation were chatting happily and didn't have time to pay attention to her. Bai Lu fell silent for a moment. Then, she hugged the death bell, squatted in a corner and began the familiar process. Draw a circle, I curse you, fellow Taoist Ning. At the side, Ning Tian curled his lips. Why do you only curse me? Taoist, did you teach her this skill? No, maybe it's the master of death? Does that old friend of death have such a hobby? Tao God Reincarnation stroked his beard and was a little puzzled. On the side, Bai Lu drew even faster. After a while, Ning Tian finally got some information from this old man. It turned out that during the battle, he was seriously injured. If he wanted to live, he could only start another reincarnation. As for White Willow, she was entrusted to the Death Lord. By the way, old man. Ning Tian seemed to have thought of something and looked at Tao God Reincarnation. Taoist, what's the matter? Tao God Reincarnation looked at Ning Tian. Oh, your daughter said that you died. Ning Tian made an "oh" sound. The corner of Tao God Reincarnation's mouth twitched and he looked at Bai Lu. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and hummed a tune. She silently hid in a corner with an expression that said, I don't know anything. And this young lady said that if I bring her here, you can give me your inheritance. Ning Tian's voice sounded again. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and hid in a corner. She hummed a tune even louder. Shoo. So, old man, why don't you fake your death? Let's go through the process. Let me steal your inheritance. No, I'll inherit it all. Then, you can appear again. How about that? Ning Tian looked at Tao God Reincarnation with a smile. Go through the process. A few black lines appeared on Tao God Reincarnation's forehead. Although Bai Lu wasn't his daughter, this time, he really experienced the feeling of being cheated by his own daughter. And Ning Tian kept talking at the side. No way, he had already become a god. How could he not be honest? The corner of Tao God Reincarnation's mouth twitched. Why did he feel that this fellow Taoist with the heavenly god body was so shameless? Cough, fellow Taoist, you're the most shameless one among the heavenly god bodies I've seen. Tao God Reincarnation said quietly. Is that so? That's pretty good. At least you're in the lead at the starting line. Ning Tian smiled. Why did Tao God Reincarnation keep praising him? Could it be that the people in the divine realm were all so sweet? Tao God Reincarnation. Forget it. He sighed and looked at Ning Tian. Then, what do you want? Well, I'm not a child anymore. I naturally know that I can't be greedy. Ning Tian's voice sounded, making Tao God Reincarnation nod with satisfaction. However, what Ning Tian said next made him speechless. Chapter 468. Since I'm not a kid anymore, I can't be greedy. So, I want all of them. Ning Tian looked at Tao God Reincarnation with a smile. Your broken burial dusk, your law of time. Why don't you give me some of your blood essence and I'll get your reincarnation body too? Not greedy. So, you want all of them? The corner of Tao God Reincarnation's mouth twitched. He looked at Bai Lu with a hint of resentment in his eyes. He suddenly felt that Bai Lu had brought Ning Tian here to rob him. Hiss. Bai Lu hummed a tune and tried hard to turn his head to the side. Since it had nothing to do with her, Bai Lu guiltily hugged the dead bell and drew circles. Forget it. Since fellow Taoist has already found this place, I can give the broken burial dusk to fellow Taoist. However, forget about my blood essence. My physique cannot be forcefully changed. Fellow Taoist, you already have the heavenly God physique. After all, this is the strongest physique. Tao God Reincarnation stroked his beard and said slowly, "No, I'm not content," Ning Tian said seriously. Tao God Reincarnation fell silent again. He suddenly realized that he didn't seem to understand this heavenly God physique. That's not right. Although he didn't know all the heavenly God physiques, he still knew a few of them. Those guys might not be gentle, but at least they wouldn't be so shameless. Could it be, did the heavenly God physique mutate? Tao God Reincarnation frowned. Then, an ancient scroll appeared in his hand, and he handed it to Ning Tian. Fellow Taoist, this is my comprehension of the broken burial dust. However, it's a little difficult to comprehend. It depends on your luck. It's okay. It's not difficult. Ning Tian raised the corner of his mouth into a confident smile. Their hands just happened to meet. Ning Tian's hand just touched the ancient scroll when Tao God Reincarnation's voice sounded. Fellow Taoist, you only need to call me master to cultivate the broken burial dusk. He didn't finish his words. Bang! Bang! The ancient scroll fell to the ground. Ah! It's gone! Ning Tian exclaimed. With a wave of his hand, the ancient scroll wrapped in spirit energy flew back to his hand. He looked at Tao God Reincarnation with a smile and said kindly, "Old Tao, what did you just say?" Tao God Reincarnation was speechless. Was this guy doing it on purpose? He must have done it on purpose, right? I say, fellow Taoist, why don't you call me master? He had encountered quite a few heavenly god physiques in the deity domain, and each of them was ridiculously talented. This time, he had finally encountered a heavenly god physique that had not reached the great perfection stage. Why not take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of it? But are you sure you can take advantage of the patriarch? After all, only Wuqing and Yu Yao could take advantage of the ancestral master. Cough cough. Oh. Old man Tao, do you know Saint Sun God? Ning Tian looked at Reincarnation Tao God seriously and asked. Saint Sun Deity? Reincarnation Tao God was stunned for a moment and nodded. I have heard of that senior. He is a heavenly god tier existence. If we were to fight, who would win? 50-50. After all, that senior is a little old. What if we add the nine-tailed celestial fox? Ning Tian's lips curved into a smile. Demon God Region's nine-tailed celestial fox? Tao God Reincarnation frowned and said in a deep voice, if these two come together, I only have a 30% chance of winning. After all, these two have been heavenly gods for a long time. If they are ordinary heavenly gods, I am confident that I can win. Then you won't have a chance. I am acquainted with these two seniors, Ning Tian said with a smile. Although he was not very familiar with Saint Sun God and the nine-tailed celestial fox, it should not be too much to ask in advance, right? This, Tao God Reincarnation was stunned. Why did this heavenly god physique have such a powerful background? All the previous heavenly god physiques had fought their way up from the bottom. Why was it different when it came to fellow Taoist Ning? All right, old man Tao, it's time for me to comprehend your cultivation technique, Ning Tian said casually. Then, he placed his hand on the ancient scroll. Spiritual chi flowed slightly as he began to comprehend. Tao God Reincarnation's eyes fell on Ning Tian and the corners of his mouth curved into a smile. Even if it was the heavenly god physique, it would be difficult for him to comprehend his broken burial dusk. Broken burial dusk, divine level martial arts. TSK, not bad. Ning Tian muttered to himself and then began to comprehend. Even Bai Lu stopped drawing circles and looked over curiously. Fellow Taoist Ning seemed to be quite talented. How would it be like to comprehend Senior Tao God's broken burial dusk? 5 minutes later, Ning Tian sighed. As expected of a divine-level martial art, it's really difficult to comprehend. Haha. Fellow Taoist, you don't have to sigh. Comprehend it with your heart. With your talent, you should be able to comprehend it completely in less than a year. Tao God Reincarnation stroked his beard when he saw Ning Tian being defeated. Although he comforted him, he could not hide the smile on his face. A year? Ning Tian frowned. Am I that stupid? Tao God Reincarnation was speechless. This 1 year, isn't it fast enough? It's not fast. Although I'm still a little novice, I only comprehended this little in 5 minutes. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and sighed. Then, a sun and moon made of spiritual energy appeared in his hand. A strange phenomenon suddenly appeared. Bury mountains and rivers, bury sun and moon. Bury sun and moon, 10% out of 100. Tao God Reincarnation was shocked and frowned. To comprehend 10% of broken burial dusk in just 5 minutes, what kind of monster was this? Hiss, if it weren't for my good physique, I might have wanted to possess you. At the side, Ning Tian's face darkened. Are you plotting loudly? You shocked Tao God Reincarnation. Reward. Time Law exclusive skill, Sand of Time. As for the specific skill, the host can understand it yourself. At this time, in his mind, the system's voice sounded. Time Law exclusive skill. Sand of Time? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Good heavens! He hadn't even grasped the time law and the exclusive skill had already appeared. System, how much do you believe that I can get the time law? However, the system's words also reminded Ning Tian. Old man Dao, speaking of which, your time law, Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile as he hinted. This, no. Tao God Reincarnation shook his head. Speaking of which, Old man Dao, your tomb is not bad. Why don't I move it away? Ning Tian's voice sounded from the side. Fellow Taoist, even if you say so, I can't give it to you. The time law is not taught by individuals. Tao God Reincarnation spread out his hands and said with a calm tone, and the comprehension of the time law has been buried by me at the bottom of the sea. Buried? The corner of Ning Tian's mouth twitched. Wasn't this old man too prodigal? The comprehension of the heaven and earth law was buried just like that? Why don't you bury yourself too? Also, are you a coffin bearer? Chapter 469. Coffin Bearer. The corner of Tao God Reincarnation's mouth twitched. Then, he shook his head helplessly and sighed. You are the first one who dares to call me a coffin bearer. In the 9 worlds, in the entire divine realm, who would call me that? Don't worry. If you like it, I will call you coffin bearer Tao God, Ning Tian said with a smile. You don't have to thank me. You can get some divine-level cultivation techniques, divine-level martial arts, or something. Oh right, you can also get some divine weapons. Just thank me. I have a small appetite. I am not that greedy. Tao God Reincarnation was speechless again. He had met all kinds of people since he started cultivating, but no one had made him so speechless. Small appetite? Not greedy? Then you want divine-level martial arts? Divine-level cultivation techniques? Do you think they are cabbages that can be found everywhere on the street? Forget it. Taoist, let's get back to the topic. Tao God Reincarnation sighed, and quickly changed the topic. If he continued, he was really afraid that this Taoist with the heavenly god body would empty his tomb. This Tao God mausoleum was related to everything he had. Okay, where did you bury the time law? I will go and dig it out. Ning Tian looked at Tao God Reincarnation and said slowly. Since he wanted to dig it out, he would let Sha Tian do it. He should be able to dig it out quickly after using the word disassembly technique. The deepest part of the boundless ocean. The sleeping ocean, Tao God Reincarnation said in a deep voice. Ning Tian was speechless. Come on. The tool lion was no longer useful. After all, Sha Tian couldn't swim. Jumping into the boundless ocean would kill it. If you want to go, you have to be careful. At this moment, Tao God Reincarnation spoke again. Tell me about it. Ning Tian looked at Tao God Reincarnation. Because, in the deepest part of the boundless ocean, the sleeping ocean, there is an overlord-level sea beast in the boundless ocean. It is the nether black tortoise that has lived for millions of years. Coincidentally, I used the time law to seal it. Tao God Reincarnation said slowly. A tortoise that has lived for millions of years? This is a great tonic. This thing must be a gas station for men and a beauty salon for women. Ning Tian's eyes lit up and he started drooling. Although Ning Buxu really wasn't weak, why wouldn't he let it last for a few more hours? Yes. He, Ning Buxu, could only increase his speed for a few hours. On the side, White Willow secretly wiped the drool from his mouth. After all, fellow Taoist Ning's cooking skills were so good, so the tortoise that had been cooked for 10 million years would definitely be delicious. You too, Tao God Reincarnation shook his head helplessly. That's the black tortoise, not some tortoise. Moreover, that fellow's strength isn't something an ordinary demigod realm powerhouse can deal with. Fellow Taoist, it's best that you don't have any ideas about it. Take the temporal law and leave. That guy is extremely big. How old? Ning Tian asked curiously. About several thousand meters? It's not that big. Ning Tian frowned slightly. How do we get to the sleeping sea? Simple. The corner of Tao God Reincarnation's mouth lifted into a smile. With a wave of his hand, a white light appeared. After passing through here, you can enter the sleeping sea. Take White Willow with you. All right? Ning Tian didn't dawdle. He turned around and looked at White Willow at the side. The corner of his mouth twitched. Good heavens! This lady drew an array diagram in circles. He now suspected that if he was unlucky, it might be this lady who cursed him. White Willow, let's go. He muttered to himself. Oh, White Willow replied with an oh. Then, she carefully put away the small branch that Ning Tian gave her. She then carried the death bell and followed up. Old Taoist, wish us good luck, Ning Tian said to Tao God Reincarnation. Then, he plunged into the white light with White Willow and soon disappeared. It's just like when I was young. It's just that I'm not so shameless. You have my shadow on you. Maybe you can surpass me in the future. I hope that Duanmu Dusk won't be buried in your hand. I, Jian Yudao, will never forget to revive the Jian family, and the devil race, hee. Tao God Reincarnation looked at the direction where Ning Tian and White Willow left and muttered to himself. His voice carried a trace of killing intent. Sleeping sea. This was the deepest part of the endless sea. It was deeper than the quiet ocean abyss. The seawater was completely cold. Even if an ordinary God-Emperor realm expert entered this place, the spiritual chi might be inadvertently frozen if they were not careful. In such a desperate place, once the spiritual chi was lost, they would sleep in this deep sea forever. Just like the name of this place, Sleeping Sea. In the deep sea, an inconspicuous light flickered. Then, two figures emerged from the light. Hiss, it's so cold. Emerging from the light, the cold seawater slapped Ning Tian's face. The bone-piercing cold came suddenly. His body trembled slightly, and he hurriedly circulated his spiritual chi to resist. The seawater of this sleeping sea was too cold, wasn't it? White Willow, why are you fine? Your clothes aren't wet? How did you do it? Ning Tian glanced at White Willow, who was hugging Death Bell with a calm expression. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. Pervert, carrot asterisk. White Willow hugged Death Bell and drew circles. Her small face was filled with anger. She drew circles in the seawater. Bubbles were bubbling. A question mark appeared carefully above Ning Tian's head. What's wrong with me again? What was this lady thinking all day long? He was just humbly asking how White Willow could circulate her spiritual chi so quickly. After all, coming out of Tao God Reincarnation's space portal required a certain amount of time. But then again, Tao God Reincarnation's space ability was indeed powerful. Could this be the power of a heavenly god realm expert? Forget it. White Willow, let's go. Ning Tian said quietly and then swam toward the deep sea. White Willow hugged Deathbell with one hand and drew circles with the other hand. She followed behind him obediently. Tao God Reincarnation didn't say where he buried the time law comprehension. Perhaps even he couldn't remember it. But fortunately, Ning Tian had the heavenly god body. He was born with a strong understanding of the law. As long as he got close, he could basically distinguish the direction. According to the current position, keep going down and go to the deepest part. Maybe I can sense it. Ning Tian murmured and then activated the skill, Deep Dive. His speed instantly soared. He wasn't worried that White Willow couldn't keep up. After all, although this lady was silly, her strength was at least demigod realm. Soon, the two came to the deepest part of the sleeping sea. It was pitch black here. Even the range of spiritual chi perception was greatly reduced. Strange, there's nothing here? Ning Tian frowned slightly and prepared to activate the power of the heavenly god body to sense it. Chapter 470. Then, let's try the perception of the heavenly god's power. Ning Tian murmured and stopped moving. The seawater flowed around him as he activated the heavenly god record. The heavenly god's power in his body began to surge at this moment. When the heavenly god's power surged in his body, the seawater around him boiled at this moment. The surface of his body even lit up with bursts of golden light. This is? Seeing Ning Tian's appearance, Bai Lu couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Then, she hugged the death bell and quietly looked at Ning Tian. She analyzed very seriously and finally came to a conclusion. That is, Taoist Ning has turned into light. Bai Lu quietly watched from the side, waiting for Ning Tian to end his perception. At this moment, in Ning Tian's perception, the surroundings were pitch black. Only he was emitting light. What he needed to do was to find the heaven and earth law that could also emit light. There was a connection between the two. Once, it was darkness. Once again, it was darkness. In the cold seawater, Ning Tian kept searching. Finally, dozens of minutes later. I finally found it. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth raised into a confident arc. A golden light flashed in his eyes as he looked at a place. In his line of sight there was a bright luster. If there was no accident, that should be the burial ground. According to the broken burial dusk, burial is also a sealing method. I hope the time law won't make me waste time to break the seal. He murmured. Let's go, Bai Lu. I found it. And somewhere in the deep sea, a cluster of light flickered slightly. This is the comprehension of the time law buried by old Taoists. Ning Tian looked at this cluster of light floating with the seawater and couldn't help but feel a little excited. He could already feel the heavenly god's power in his body constantly surging. He couldn't wait to devour the comprehension of the time law. Taoist Ning, is this the comprehension of the time law? On the side, Bai Lu hugged the death bell and stared blankly in front of her. Ning Tian didn't pay attention to her and just nodded. And this is the comprehension of the time law. Although it only emits a fist-sized luster, it is still shining. This is the power of the law. Then what is this red thing? Bai Lu's voice sounded. Red? Bai Lu, what are you talking about? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He looked at Bai Lu and realized that Bai Lu was staring blankly in front of them. He looked over as well. The F***CK? What is this? His expression changed. The seawater in front of him suddenly turned red. However, it wasn't the seawater that turned red, but the red light that illuminated the seawater. Ning Tian took a look and found that the red light was at least several thousand meters long. Could it be a strange phenomenon in the boundless ocean? Phew! I thought it was an eye, F***ck. It really was an eye. It was that 10-million-year-old tortoise. F***ck, that bastard old Tao, didn't he say that it was only a few thousand meters long? That F***king eye is already 1,000 meters long. Just as Ning Tian heaved a sigh of relief, he suddenly saw that the 1,000-meter-wide red light instantly dissipated, and then after a while, it opened again. This was clearly a blink of an eye. If one were to say that a single eye was 1,000 meters in size, then, how big would this 10-million-year-old tortoise be? F***ck, that old man Tao is very bad. If Sha Tian was here, I would definitely ask Sha Tian to tear down his Tao God mausoleum. Ning Tian cursed in a low voice. Then, he whispered to Bai Lu, "Bai Lu, let's be quiet. Don't alarm this old bastard." NN. Bai Lu nodded and tightly hugged the death bell in her arms, not allowing it to make a sound. Even she felt a lot of pressure from this incomparably huge fellow. After all, according to the words of the reincarnation Tao God, this netherworld black tortoise was the strongest overlord of the boundless ocean. After we get the law of time, let's go. Ning Tian made up her mind. Her hand slowly moved towards the ball of light containing the comprehension of the laws of time floating in the sea. The seawater flowed. It emitted waves of bubbles. 30 centimeters, 10 centimeters. Finally, Ning Tian's hand touched the ball of light and he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He finally got the law of time and he didn't make any noise to alarm that 10-million-year-old tortoise. The ball of light emitted a burst of light in Ning Tian's hand. Originally, Ning Tian thought that it was just a simple light of law, but soon, he realized that something was wrong. This light, it was getting brighter and brighter. This was absorbing the law of time. Strange, I clearly didn't absorb it? Ning Tian was confused. Fellow Taoist Ning, your stomach is glowing. At this time, Bai Lu seemed to have discovered a new continent. She looked at Ning Tian's stomach and quickly said, "Light, light?" Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and quickly lowered his head to take a look. What the F***ck? He suddenly realized that his stomach was really glowing. It just so happened that it complemented the light of the ball of light in his hand. No, this position is the Dantian. It's that unknown tree. Ning Tian reacted. It was the unknown tree that helped him comprehend the law of time. F***ck, if it was during normal times, it would naturally be a great thing. But now I really have to thank you. What should I do now? Ning Tian was at a loss, but he quickly calmed down. Since he had already started, he might as well go all the way. Sooner or later, the old tortoise would discover the commotion here, so he might as well directly comprehend the law of time. That would give him a chance to live. He gritted his teeth and simply let go of his comprehension. Boom! Boom! The surrounding seawater began to boil, and the golden light became bigger and bigger. It seemed to be illuminating the entire seabed. That pair of huge red eyes seemed to be looking over. The commotion here obviously alarmed the old tortoise. Boom, gurgle, gurgle. The seawater boiled. Bai Lu hugged the dead bell and looked at Ning Tian, who was emitting golden light. Her eyes widened. Fellow Taoist Ning had really turned into light, but what should she do now? Host has comprehended the law of time. The unknown tree has formed a Tao fruit. Death time. In the Dantian, the unknown tree was much more luxuriant. There were 2 fruits emitting a faint luster on it. One of them was emitting black qi, while the other was emitting a ticking sound. Obviously, these were the 2 laws of death and time. This is what? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. But even if he wanted to know, it was obviously not the right time. Now, but there was still an old tortoise eyeing them covetously. Who is it? Trespassing into my forbidden area? In the seawater, the dazzling red light shone on Ning Tian and Bai Lu. A low sound rang out, and suddenly waves were set off. The seawater was surging at this moment. At this moment, when this heavy sound rang out, the entire endless sea became a little restless. That old tortoise found us. Bai Lu's face changed slightly, and she hugged the dead bell tightly. Chapter 471. Even a demigod realm expert like her could not withstand the suppression of this aura. This old bastard is not something we can deal with. It is very likely that it is the same as the Death Lord. Perhaps it is not comparable, but it is definitely not to be underestimated. Ning Tian's expression was solemn. Then, fellow Taoist Ning, what should we do now? Bai Lu hugged the dead bell and asked. Now that things have come to this, we can only use that move. Ning Tian's expression was somewhat solemn, and his tone was somewhat serious. What move? Bai Lu's eyes were filled with anticipation. Could it be that fellow Taoist Ning wanted to use his true strength to instantly kill this 10-million-year-old bastard and then stew it into soup? That is, run. As soon as Ning Tian finished speaking, he directly pulled the stunned Bai Lu and began to run for his life. What a joke! According to the Tianma cult's rules of survival, if you can run, don't fight. If you don't use it now, when do you use it? Boom! In an instant, the two of them dashed forward at an astonishing speed, causing the seawater to surge. Human ants! You dare to disturb my peace? Behind them, the furious voice of the netherworld black tortoise could be heard, accompanied by a wave of surging waves. It was as if the sound of chains could be heard. The waves were surging, and the endless sea was already furious. F***ck. How can this old bastard be so strong? No, after living for 10 million years, even a chicken can become a god, right? This old bastard is still in the 9 regions, so he definitely hasn't become a god. If it was me, I would have already become a god. Ning Tian pulled Bai Lu and cursed as he ran. Bai Lu, ask your father to come out and help. This thing is going to die. Fellow Taoist Ning, Senior Tao God is not my father. Moreover, Senior Tao God seems to be unable to come out of the Tao God mausoleum because he has yet to complete his reincarnation. Bai Lu let Ning Tian pull him and said silently, Ning Tian. F***ck. 1,000 words were not as good as a single word at this moment. Damn old man, I will definitely tear down your mausoleum. Ning Tian secretly cursed. Boom. Rumble. Waves raged behind him, and some of the sea beasts that didn't even have time to react were instantly torn apart. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's scalp instantly went numb, and he immediately ran with Bai Lu. Fight my ass. A 10-million-year-old monster, this was too ridiculous. Originally, Ning Tian wanted to bring Bai Lu into the dark depths of the sea to hide from the old bastard's sight. However, the unknown tree in his dantian was like a spy, constantly emitting bright rays of light. In the darkness, Ning Tian was like a ray of light, especially eye-catching. F***ck. Is this thing here to kill me? Ning Tian cursed inwardly. At this moment, his entire body was emitting light, and the surrounding sea was instantly lit up by him. Human cultivator, where do you think you're going? The netherworld black tortoise's voice came from afar, but its attack was very close to Ning Tian and Bai Lu. The waves broke through the air, bringing with it a roar, and violent killing intent swept towards the two of them. Even in the deep sea, the sea was split in half, and it took a long time for it to merge back together. Dong. Taking advantage of the dissipation of the sea, Bai Lu also took the opportunity to activate the death bell, and the sound of the bell spread again, barely blocking the attack. Bai Lu, good job. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's eyes lit up with joy. I can't hold on for too long, Taoist Ning, why don't you run first? Bai Lu shook his head. Don't waste time, Even if I leave you behind, I can't run away, and I'll even die faster. Ning Tian didn't even think about it. It was meaningless to say this now, and he would run as far as he could. Boom! Boom boom! In the sea. A dazzling golden light shone, and behind the golden light, the waves surged, and the sea water surged, alarming many sea beasts, sea demons, and the natives of the endless sea. All of them were shocked. Who was it that dared to provoke the overlord of the sea? F***ck. You old bastard, you've chased us for thousands of miles, with your bastard legs. Can you catch up with us? Give up quickly. Ning Tian pulled Bai Lu and ran while scolding. He couldn't beat him, but he couldn't lose in terms of momentum. Damned humans! If it weren't for the existence of the chain, I'd bite a piece of trash like you. Behind him, that low voice, with a burst of waves, rang out. Heh, but there's no if. You old bastard, you'd better stay put, damn it, isn't it just blinding your bastard eyes? Is there a need to chase us like this? If you have the time to chase us, why don't you go and sleep? Ning Tian cursed, but the speed of his legs increased. He heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I have many spiritual seas and the deep dive skill, otherwise I would have been eaten by the bastard. I'm the netherworld black tortoise, not a bastard. That wave of furious roar was accompanied by the clanging of heavy iron chains. Looks like it's really as the nether black tortoise said. He really is trapped by something, otherwise, Ning Tian and Bai Lu would definitely be unable to escape. If you catch up with me, you won't be a bastard. Ning Tian scolded and ran wildly with Bai Lu. Bai Lu, ugh. I'm so dizzy. Damn it. You're the most infuriating cultivator I've met in so many years. Haha. Thank you for the compliment. Quiet sea abyss. It was quiet here, and the corpses of several sea beasts sank to the bottom of the sea. It's been so long, why hasn't my husband come out yet? Luo Wuqing frowned slightly, and there was a trace of worry in her eyes. Ning Tian had been in the stone door for more than an hour, but there was no sign of him coming out. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't enter, they would have gone in long ago. Let's wait patiently, Sui Weiyao said and played with Neptune's trident in boredom. At this moment, the two women seemed to see a ball of light in front of them. Huh! What a familiar figure! Luo Wuqing froze for a moment and looked in that direction. It's my husband! Sui Weiyao's eyes lit up, and her boredom instantly dissipated. No, why do I feel a huge aura approaching? Luo Wuqing frowned, and her pretty face instantly turned cold, and her tone was full of killing intent. Someone is chasing after my husband? Hearing this, Sui Weiyao's beautiful eyes turned cold. At this moment, these two crazy protective demons were angry. Chasing after their husband? How dare they? F***ck, F***ck. Old bastard, you can't catch up, so you spit at us. Aren't you disgusting? Ning Tian cursed. This old bastard only sucked in seawater and then spat it at them. Didn't he know that this old bastard who hadn't brushed his teeth for thousands of years had a foul mouth? It's enough to kill you, little bastard. The nether black tortoise was not so angry, but after being scolded by Ning Tian all the way, it was furious. Not only was this human shameless, but his mouth was also poisonous. When he scolded the black tortoise, he didn't repeat a single sentence. Husband! Husband! At this moment 2 beautiful figures flashed over. Wife, run! That old bastard is going crazy! Ning Tian subconsciously wanted to escape with the two, but at this moment, the golden light in his dantian dissipated, and the system notification sounded. Dao fruit has matured, can provide powerful law power. Hearing this, Ning Tian immediately slammed on the brakes, looking ferocious. F***ck. Wife, let's not run anymore. Kill. We'll eat tortoise meat tonight. Author's words. Seeing the results drop by a lot, my heart instantly turned cold. Maybe it's really not stable to reach 1,000,000 words. I tried my best. Was the plot too ordinary before? Give me some suggestions. I'll try my best to write what you like to read. Also, I'll post the 3rd chapter today in one go. In the future, the 3rd chapter will be posted in the morning. I'll stay up late to finish it for you. Chapter 472. Tortoise Meat. Seeing Ning Tian and Bai Lu's sorry state, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueao couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Their beautiful eyes flashed with confusion. Could it be hubby and Bai Lu went to catch a sea beast? Boom boom. However, before Ning Tian could explain, the seawater behind Ning Tian and Bai Lu surged, and waves of terrifying power slammed towards them. It did not leave them any room to maneuver. If they were hit, they would shatter like a watermelon. Hubby, watch out! Wu Qing and Yueao exclaimed. Their beautiful eyes flashed with a cold light. Spiritual energy surged around them as they released their demigod aura. Even the surrounding seawater was stirred up. In a flash, the two of them appeared in front of Ning Tian. With a shake of their jade-like hands, they shattered the seawater that was attacking them. 2 more humans? The voice of the Xuanwu of the Netherworld rang out in the depths of love. The seawater turned scarlet red. That was its eyes. Along with the deep voice, there was also the sound of chains rubbing against each other. Just how big were the chains that could bind such a huge creature? A sea beast? What a huge sea beast! Luo Wuqing frowned, and a trace of coldness appeared on her beautiful face. She could sense that this sea beast was not ordinary. It was completely different from the ones they had just killed. Just a pair of eyes was a full 1,000 meters long. Then, how big was its body? In their eyes, they could only see a huge shadow in the dark sea. They couldn't see its appearance at all. Honey, this is not an ordinary sea beast. This is the Nether Old Tortoise. According to Old Man Dao, it should be the overlord of the endless sea. Ning Tian swam over with Bai Lu. At this time, he also let go of Bai Lu's hand. Bai Lu, ugh, I'm so dizzy. This girl was originally light. After being pulled by Ning Tian all the way, she couldn't tell north from south. It seemed that her sense of direction was very poor. She floated around dizzily in the sea. Human ant, shut your mouth. I am the Netherworld Black Tortoise. I'm not an old bastard. The Nether Black Tortoise gnashed its teeth as its voice reverberated through the sea. Its furious voice caused the surrounding seawater to surge violently. Isn't it all the same? You old bastard, you've lived for millions of years, yet your temper is still so bad. It's a miracle that you haven't been angered to death. Ning Tian's mouth was still unforgiving. If he wanted to defeat this old bastard, he would have to make it lose its mind first. Roar, roar, roar. As expected, from the depths of the sea, low roars could be heard. The surrounding seawater was being swallowed and spat out by the Nether Black Tortoise at a visible speed. It was obvious that it was furious. However, it was not its fault. After all, even though it had lived for tens of millions of years, it had never met people like Ning Tian, whether they were from the human race, the demon race, the monster race, or the other races. The monster race was cunning, the demon race was murderous, and the human race was all smiles. But, however, this little brat in front of him was an exception. Shameless, talkative, he had everything. Damn it. This old bastard was going to die from anger. Human race ant, didn't you want to run? Why don't you continue to run? If you fall into my hands, I will make sure you die miserably. In the depths of the sea, that pair of red eyes landed on Ning Tian. Run? Sorry. The cheat is in my account. From now on, I am going to counterattack. This old bastard who has lived for tens of millions of years must be very nourishing. Unfortunately, this bastard is too big to be stewed in a pot. Ning Tian sneered. Although he had been acting tough, he naturally had his reasons. Since he had decided to fight, he would use his words to anger this old bastard. An enemy who was extremely angry would always be easier to deal with than a calm enemy because there would be more flaws. Anger would make one lose their mind. This was only one of the reasons. The second reason was to stall for time. When he had angered the nether black tortoise, he had also figured out what the system meant by Tao fruit. Tao fruit was the fruit produced by the unknown tree in his dantian. The fruit's energy was to absorb the law of heaven and earth. Every time he comprehended a law, the unknown tree would produce a new Tao fruit. At this moment, in his dantian there were 2 Tao fruits on the unknown tree, death and time. Consuming the Tao fruit could increase one's strength and also temporarily obtain the law of heaven and earth. Ah! Hearing Ning Tian's words, the nether black tortoise was so angry that it laughed. The seawater spread along with its laughter. The quiet sea abyss was no longer quiet. The endless sea began to set off waves. With just you? Even if I am a whip, it is countless times bigger than you. Ning Tian, after a moment of silence, his eyes lit up. Damn. So you really have it. It's a great nourishment. A great nourishment. The 2 women, it's over. If they really killed this old bastard and their husband ate this great nourishment, wouldn't they be the ones to suffer? At this moment the 2 women frowned. One frowned because she was worried, while the other frowned to hide the anticipation in her heart. Ridiculous. The nether black tortoise was just joking. However, it suddenly felt a chill under its body. Suddenly, it brought a wave of seawater towards Ning Tian and the others. Raging tsunami. Boom. 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 The huge pressure drew out almost a quarter of the seawater in the quiet sea abyss. The entire sea level dropped rapidly. The seawater gathered and formed a tsunami that was thousands of meters in size. It attacked Ning Tian and the others. This old bastard is serious. Ning Tian's eyes flashed. The playful look on his face instantly disappeared. His expression gradually turned serious. To be honest, this nether black tortoise was really strong. However, fortunately, he had a cheat. Husband, step back. Yueyao and I will block it. Luo Wuqing took a step forward with a cold expression on her face. Even if the nether black tortoise gave her a strong pressure, there was no fear in her eyes. No need. I will fight with you. Ning Tian shook his head. Then, a cold light appeared in his hand. 2 balls of light surged, one golden and one dark. Swallow it. It will allow you to grasp a certain amount of the laws of heaven and earth and increase your combat strength. Although Ning Tian could use it himself, the effect would be more obvious if he used it on Luo Wuqing and Su Yuyao. Stronger than stronger. Okay, got it? Luo Wuqing and Su Yuyao looked at each other. Without the slightest hesitation, they each took the Tao fruit of the laws of heaven and earth. They already knew about Ning Tian's ability, so they would not doubt him at this time. The 2 women swallowed the Tao fruit. Soon, the power of laws surged in their delicate bodies. This was a power they had never experienced before. After all, not everyone could comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. Even the 2 of them, who were blessed by the heavens, had some difficulty. Of course, the comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth here was not the superficial understanding of the sea monster race. Chapter 473. Above Luo Wuqing's delicate body, a golden light flowed. This was the power of the laws of time, but Su Yueyao chose the laws of death. Black energy covered the jade flute, desolate and melancholic, completely different. In the blink of an eye after swallowing the Tao fruit, the raging waves came crashing down. Human ant, be annihilated by my fury! The nether black tortoise's red eyes fell on Ning Tian. Its voice was filled with manic killing intent. It controlled the monstrous waves and smashed them towards Ning Tian. The formless sea water condensed into thousands of sharp blades and gathered here. Heh! Do you think you have the right to hurt my husband? Luo Wuqing's lips curved into a sneer. Her beautiful eyes were filled with indifference. She raised her hand and golden light circulated in her hand. With a completely different aura, she threw it towards the incoming waves. This little girl's power is so strange. She didn't have it just now. The nether black tortoise was stunned for a moment. However, the killing intent in its red eyes did not dissipate. Tick-tock, tick-tock. When Luo Wuqing waved her hand, the golden light in her hand flowed with her movements. A golden matrix of light appeared behind her. Immediately after, a shadow appeared. That was a clock? Even vaguely, one could hear the ticking of a clock. The waves stop for the Emperor, Luo Wuqing shouted coldly. Her hand shook. Even though she had become a demigod expert, she still liked the term Empress. Tick-tock. The golden light array behind her suddenly trembled, and the spinning clock suddenly stopped. Boom. At this moment, the incoming waves came to an abrupt halt without the slightest sign. Even the droplets of seawater that were falling from the sky had stopped as well. In an instant, the 1,000-meter-long waves were like a stone statue, frozen in place. What? The law of time? What kind of comprehension is it to be able to stop my attack? In the deep sea, the nether black tortoise exclaimed. It did not expect Luo Wuqing to have mastered the law of heaven and earth. Moreover, she could stop its attack. It's not over yet. Su Yueyao placed the jade flute on her red lips and gently blew it. They were originally in the sea. However, at this moment, Luo Wuqing used the law of time to forcibly stop time and solidify the sea water. Ning Tian also took the opportunity to throw a heavy palm strike. In an instant, the surrounding seawater was emptied. For the first time there was no seawater. A sad song, the jade flute played music, the death song. Crack! The law of death drove the Tao of music, and a death song was played. The waves were instantly reduced to nothingness. They didn't shatter, but they were corroded into nothingness by the circulation of black gas. Even the seawater was robbed of its life, and it disappeared into nothingness. The law of deaths? The nether black tortoises. What's going on? Heaven and earth's is? Could it be that while it was sleeping, the entire profound sky world had changed? Is of heaven as heavens? Heavens of the heaven of heavens heavens heavens. To think that they can use the laws so vividly in their hands. The system sighed in his mind. Of course. Look at whose wife they are. Ning Tian snorted proudly. How could the Grandmaster's wife be ordinary? The system sighed. If I had known, I would have chosen them. If I had chosen them, I would have soared. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth twitched. Shut up. Human ants, I have to admit that you have some strength, but that's all. If it weren't for this damned world lock that only allows me to use 1/10 of my strength, you would all be dead. The nether black tortoise's unwilling voice came from the deep sea. As the overlord of the endless sea, it was played by a few mere demigod realm humans. This was a humiliation to it. 1/10 of your strength? Hearing this, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao's hearts trembled. Their beautiful eyes instantly turned serious. This was an old tortoise that had lived for thousands of years. Its strength was indeed extraordinary. World lock? Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned. Although he didn't know what this thing was used for, he came to a conclusion. The corner of his mouth gradually lifted into a kind smile. It's good that it's locked. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. While you're weak, I'll take your life. After hearing this news, Ning Tian's first reaction was not to sigh at the nether black tortoise's strength, but to think of a way to kill this old tortoise. Anyway, it was weakened by the world lock. If he didn't attack now, when would he attack? Wife, kill it. Take down this old tortoise. Tonight, we'll eat tortoise meat stewed with tortoise whip. A fierce light flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. He activated the deep dive skill, and the red cloud sword appeared in his hand. With an inextinguishable flame, he charged towards the giant figure in the deep sea. Sword Dao, Palm Dao, Fist Dao, and Entertainment Dao were activated at this moment. The power of the heaven and earth's rule was also released mercilessly. At this moment, Ning Tian activated all his skills and targeted this old tortoise. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao nodded heavily and followed him. At the side, Bai Lu finally recovered from her dizziness. Seeing Ning Tian and the others rush over, she did not follow. Instead, she gently stroked the death bell to provide support. After all, she did not have a physical body, and her soul form was too fragile. "You're courting death." In the deep sea, a scarlet-red color appeared. The nether-black tortoise's angry roar caused the entire endless sea domain to riot. Wuji Divine Dynasty. In the main hall. Report. Emperor. Emperor, something bad has happened. A hurried voice sounded from outside the main hall. Following that, a flustered civil official ran in from outside the main hall. He was sweating profusely as he looked at Di Wuji in the main hall. What's the matter? Could it be that Long Jiang accidentally destroyed the house again? Di Wuji frowned as he looked at the civil official. There was a trace of confusion in his eyes. In the past few days, Long Jiang had suddenly become reckless and accidentally destroyed the house. This caused many civil and military officials to complain about him. No, no. The civil official shook his head. He looked flustered. It's the Sea God's harbor. Something has happened to the Sea God's harbor. Something big has happened in the endless sea domain. The waves are surging. All the fishermen have evacuated, but the Sea God's harbor is still flooded. Fortunately, the residents of the Sea God's harbor evacuated in time. That's why there were no casualties. What's going on? Hearing this, Di Wuji's expression turned serious. It's the endless sea domain. Something has happened in the endless sea domain. Some people even saw the waves that were thousands of meters tall. Many sea beasts and sea demons fled in all directions. Some people even saw a huge monster. There are also a few figures fighting with that huge monster. This is unbelievable. The civil official was very excited. He had never seen such a big scene in his life. Huge monster? How many figures are there? Di Wuji was stunned. He frowned and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. Chapter 474. Could these figures be the ancestral master and the others? When he thought of such a huge commotion, the first thing that came to Di Wuji's mind was his ancestral master. After all, whenever there was a huge commotion, he would first think of his ancestral master. But why would the ancestral master and the others cause such a commotion? What was the huge creature that was fighting the ancestral master and the others? Di Wuji frowned deeply, but he could not figure it out. Emperor? Emperor? The official saw Di Wuji in a daze and could not help but call out tentatively. The Emperor understands. Gather the men and head to the endless sea domain. Di Wuji snapped out of his daze, and a glint flashed across his eyes. His tone was serious as he spoke to the official. He wanted to see what that man was doing with his own eyes. Ever since the Wuji God dynasty was established, it had always been close to the endless sea domain. Although there were large and small fluctuations in the sea domain, there had never been such a huge commotion like today. He had to go and take a look. Yes. The official nodded and quickly gathered the men. Countless spirit commandeers gathered at the Sea God's harbor. Sea God's harbor was now completely submerged. There was no way this place could withstand the waves that were thousands of meters tall. On a 100-meter spirit commandeer ship, Di Wuji looked at the sea with a serious expression. From afar, there was already a storm on the sea. Dark clouds swept across the sea, and all kinds of waves surged. Most importantly, when the 1,000-meter waves rose to the sky, they would suddenly stop and dissipate into thin air. All the civil and military officials of the everlasting divine dynasty were dumbfounded. Emperor, I'm afraid it's not safe ahead. Some officials frowned and looked worried. If they were swept in, they would probably die, right? The Emperor naturally understands. Di Wuji retracted his gaze and looked at the officials with a serious expression. But we have to go. With such a huge commotion, if we are not careful, the endless sea domain might go berserk. When that happens, the entire Wuji god dynasty will be submerged in the raging sea. Hearing this, the officials' expressions turned serious. They naturally understood the importance of this matter. Once the endless sea domain went berserk, the Wuji god dynasty would definitely be affected. At that time, they would probably suffer heavy casualties. We understand, Emperor. The group of officials nodded solemnly. Let's go. Di Wuji waved his hand and looked ahead. Hundreds of spirit commandeering ships began to advance towards the land of rebellion. Along the way, the people of the limitless celestial dynasty saw all kinds of tsunamis, sea beasts, and sea demons running away. It was no doubt a sign of the terror ahead. For a moment, everyone was panicking and nervous. Boom! Boom! The endless sea domain could no longer remain calm. Very soon, everyone finally saw that terrifying scene. An enormous monster appeared on the surface of the boundless sea. Like an island, it was several tens of thousands of meters in size. In fact, it might even be several 100,000 meters in size, because most of his body was submerged in the sea. And on that island there was a giant crimson python running rampant, ferocious and terrifying. What was most shocking was that there were chains tightly binding the figure. It was like, who was it? Who was it that used chains to keep this huge creature in the endless sea? Hiss, what is that thing? Sea beast? But how could there be such a huge sea beast? Tens of thousands of meters, or even hundreds of thousands of meters? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The limitless celestial dynasty has been established for so many years. I have never heard of such a level of sea beast in the endless sea domain. Unbelievable! At this moment, all the officials of the limitless celestial dynasty were shocked. Their pupils constricted. No, it was no longer shock, it was fear. It was the fear of facing an unknown behemoth. What exactly is this? Di Wuji's heart trembled. Even he could not hide the fear in his heart when facing such a huge creature. He even felt a trace of helplessness. This is definitely not something that a demigod expert can deal with. Imperial Emperor, quickly look. At this moment, an official's voice rang out beside him. Is that the ancestral master's ship? Di Wuji frowned and looked over. Not far away, the void ship was swaying in the waves. On the deck, a small lion wearing a straw hat was trying its best to control the ship's direction. Even though it was swaying and facing strong winds and waves, Sha Tian still did not let the void ship be overturned by the waves. It is the ancestral master's ship, but where are the ancestral master and the others? Di Wuji frowned. Ha ha! Old bastard, you are indeed an old bastard. Your speed is as slow as a tortoise's. At this moment, a hearty laughter rang out from not far away. It instantly attracted the attention of Di Wuji and the others. When they looked over, their expressions changed slightly, and they could not help but exclaim in surprise. F***CK. Isn't that the ancestral master? The ancestral master and his two wives are suppressing the sea beast and beating it up? But what the hell is that spirit hugging the bell? This couple is too F***king strong. The officials of the limitless celestial dynasty widened their eyes. Their eyes were filled with deep shock, and their hearts were already in turmoil. Is this the ancestral master's true strength? Di Wuji looked a little depressed as he watched Ning Tian continuously attacking the sea beast. At this moment, he deeply understood that he was definitely no match for Ning Tian. However, what he did not know was that the nether black tortoise could only use 1/10 of its strength at this moment. In their eyes, Ning Tian was simply a god who had descended from the heavens and was crushing the sea beast. "Ant! I won't let you off." The nether black tortoise was enraged. All this while, that brat had been taking advantage of the two terrifying women to attack him. He had been using some moves that did not cause much damage but were extremely insulting. Coupled with his poisonous mouth, it was simply unbearable. He wanted to get rid of this bastard, but the two women did not give him a chance at all. "Humph! You dare to touch my husband?" Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao both snorted coldly. There was no doubt that the laws were terrifying. F***ck. Damn you, crazy protector of your husband, F***ck. The nether black tortoise cursed and used all the human curses that it had learned for thousands of years. With the two women around, that brat could not touch it at all. How infuriating! This bastard's turtle shell is really thick. Ning Tian frowned and chose a suitable position to attack. However, at this moment, the system's voice rang in his mind. "You have shocked Di Wuji. You have shocked the officials of the limitless celestial dynasty. Obtain skill card. Damage stacking. Use all skills to stack the damage. Note, if the damage is low, let's stack it 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. The system's voice rang in his mind. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he glanced at Di Wuji and the others who were not far away. The old emperor had come just in time. However, stacking the skill card required a certain amount of time. If he waited until the number of times he could kill the old bastard, the effectiveness of the two women's Dao fruits would have expired. I need to stack it tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of times in a short period of time. Ning Tian frowned and muttered to himself, deep in thought. All of a sudden, there was a flash of inspiration in his mind. His eyes lit up, and a confident smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Got it. Use skill. Sands of time. Author's words. It's midnight. Sleep, sleep, last daily request for silver note. Chapter 475. Ning Tian's eyes lit up as he muttered to himself, "Since I can't multiply it countless times in a short period of time, then let's slow down time." The golden light of the law of time flowed on his body. "Wife, help me buy some time. Let me deal the final blow to this old bastard." After making up his mind, Ning Tian shouted, "Okay." Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao nodded. Their beautiful eyes flashed coldly as they activated their demigod power and law of time stop. The death song was released again. Not far away, the sound of the death bell was also constantly ringing. "Buy time for you? What a joke." When the nether black tortoise's deep voice sounded, even the surrounding seawater roared angrily. Not far away, the hundreds of spirit ships of the Wuji divine dynasty were instantly affected, and many of them were overturned. Di Wuji was so shocked that he quickly retreated with a group of people. "This sea beast is so powerful. Can Taoist Ning and the others really deal with it?" Di Wuji's expression was solemn, and his face was a little ugly. Such a huge and powerful sea beast was hiding in the endless sea domain, and the Wuji divine dynasty didn't even know about it. It was simply a hidden danger. Could it be? Is Taoist Ning eliminating the evil in the name of Taoist Ning? Di Wuji frowned. If that was the case, Taoist Ning was really a good person. However, what he didn't know was that Ning Buxu only wanted to nourish his body. Not far away, the spiritual energy surged. The two women continuously attacked the nether black tortoise, performing beautiful and powerful moves. They were much more powerful than Ning Buxu's moves, which were not very powerful but were extremely humiliating. Even the nether black tortoise had to be cautious. Phew, I hope my guess is correct. Ning Tian took a deep breath. The golden light around his body was already circulating. He seemed to be able to hear the ticking sound. That was the time of heaven and earth jumping. He muttered to himself, "Time. Quicksand." Boom. The moment his voice fell, a loud explosion sounded. Then, a huge clock appeared behind Ning Tian. The surrounding world began to lose its color and turned gray. Everything seemed to have stopped. However, it didn't stop. It was moving slowly. The world was gray. Only Ning Tian was colorful. Only his time was flowing. The sands of time. What was lost was not other people's time, but his. The outside world would not be affected by the sand of time, but only his own. Ning Tian's time in the sand of time domain would be released in an instant. So, this sands of time is a domain technique. As he observed his surroundings, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. However, he quickly reacted. Sacrificing his time in exchange for a powerful attack was undoubtedly a double-edged sword. But at this moment, he had no choice. Host, this system's friendly reminder is that you can stay in the sands of time for 1 month. At this moment, the system's notification sounded in his mind. A month? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. The system replied, yes. The sand of time domain skill will improve along with your understanding of the law of time. I see. I understand now. Ning Tian nodded slightly as a bright light flashed in his eyes. This was definitely a heaven-defying method. If his grasp of the laws of time was strong enough, wouldn't he be invincible if he went into seclusion in the sands of time? However, this was only based on the condition that his comprehension of the law of time was strong enough. As for now, let's deal with this old bastard first. Phew, Ning Tian took a deep breath. Then, his spiritual energy surged out. All the techniques that Ning Tian had learned in his life were constantly displayed at this moment. Then, they were stacked again and again. Stacking skill cards. Use. 1 month. With my speed, I can use each skill 100,000 times after exhausting my spiritual energy. Ning Tian's lips curled into a confident smile. At this moment, his methods were endless. 100,000 sword intent, 100,000 wind thunder palm, 100,000 divine music, etc. In the blink of an eye, 100,000 condenses were completed. The surrounding world began to regain its color. Ning Tian's face looked a little weak. To continuously use all his skills for 1 month, even he felt a little weak. The sands of time domain dissipated. However, for the outside world, it was just a few breaths. But Ning Tian's beard was unshaven and his hair had grown a lot longer. This was enough to prove that he had indeed spent 1 month in the sands of time. This also indirectly proved the terror of the sands of time domain. Boom! A roar sounded, accompanied by the sound of iron chains. Not good, the time for the Law Dao fruit is up. Su Yueao's jade flute was flowing with black gas. She could feel that the power that she had finally familiarized herself with was quickly dissipating in her body. It's okay. I'm not afraid of it. I'll buy time for my husband. The clock behind Luo Wuqing shattered. In an instant, her momentum weakened a lot, but she was still strong. Her cold eyes fell on the netherworld black tortoise. Her pretty face was cold without a trace of fear. Wuqing, you're right. It's nothing more than a bastard. Su Yueao giggled. Several heavenly instruments appeared behind her. She shouted, Today, I'll send this old bastard to his death. Not far away, Bai Lu, who was holding the dead bell, was stunned for a moment. He blinked his eyes and looked confused. Send the bell? Why do you want to send it to me? Asterisk, 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 caret asterisk. Ha ha! The netherworld black tortoise laughed loudly. The sea shook. Its red eyes flowed with killing intent as it looked at the two women. Your power has disappeared. Ha ha, now is my chance. At this moment, a cold shout sounded. Old bastard! How dare you touch my wife? Do you want to die? Ning Tian looked at the netherworld black tortoise with a murderous look in his eyes. He held a light ball in his hand. The light ball flowed with violent energy. Are you going to use some moves that don't do much damage but are extremely insulting to me? The netherworld black tortoise sneered. Is that so? Ning Tian's lips curled into a kind smile. He played with the light ball in his hand. He was already thinking about whether he should braise or steam this old bastard. Then, he looked at the two women. Honey, thank you for your hard work. Next, you two step back. I'm going to start killing the bastard. Okay. Hearing this, the two women nodded, looked at each other, and stepped back. They didn't ask too much. They knew that since their husband dared to say it, he could do it. Ridiculous. Seeing this, the netherworld black tortoise was even more disdainful. It didn't believe that this kind of move that didn't do much damage and was extremely insulting could shake it. How could it be? It was completely wishful thinking. Emperor, Ancestral Master is going to make his move. Not far away, Di Wuji and the other officials of the everlasting divine dynasty held their breaths as they watched this scene. Ancestral Master is finally going to make his move. One attack might be useless, but what about 100,000? Ning Tian smiled. His body was like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the netherworld black tortoise's huge body. He looked at the red python on its back, and the light ball in his hand exploded with violent energy. Chapter 476. I name this move, Tortoise Slaying Technique. Finished. Ning Tian raised the violent energy ball in her hand and smashed it heavily at the enormous nether black tortoise in front of her. The nether black tortoise was huge and couldn't possibly dodge the attack. That was why its defense was so high. However, Ning Tian was confident that he could break this thick tortoise shell. Tortoise Slaying Technique. Hearing that, the nether black tortoise was instantly enraged. It was the first time it was called an old tortoise. Moreover, it was called so many times. In the past, didn't those fellows call it Your Excellency Black Tortoise? Even those powerful beings would call it Little Tortoise no matter how weak they were. How could it be called an old tortoise all the time? A mere firefly dares to compete with the bright moon? I already said that your move that only insults and doesn't hurt me is useless against me. The nether black tortoise sneered. Its huge tortoise shell flickered with a red light. The scarlet blood python coiled around the tortoise shell and flicked its tongue. Its snake eyes were fixed on Ning Tian, who was hovering in the air. Is that so? Ning Tian had a playful look on his face as he said indifferently, What if it's 100,000? 100,000? What a joke! How much time and spiritual energy would it take to execute 100,000? You think you can do it? The nether black tortoise sneered. An expert needed time to execute a move. How long would it take to stack 100,000 attacks? It had only been a few dozen seconds since the start. Is that so? Ning Tian smiled as he looked at the nether black tortoise. Then I'm sorry. Although I'm not a genius, but if it's just like this, I really can do it. Huh? What? The nether black tortoise was stunned. Looking at Ning Tian's smile, its heart shuddered. What's wrong with this kid? This smile, why does it feel so wrong? No, his beard? At this moment, the nether black tortoise was shocked. It finally noticed Ning Tian's stubble. It wasn't there just now, but it had grown out in just a few seconds. This meant he had spent a lot of time. It's the laws of time. How is this possible? How is it possible for him to do this? Even the mighty figure in the deity realm, who could control time, only grasped such a heaven-defying technique after he stepped into the deity realm. He wasn't as exaggerated as this kid. Is he still human? The nether black tortoise was extremely shocked. Clearly, it had never thought that Ning Tian would know such a move. If it knew that Ning Tian hadn't even become a great emperor, what kind of expression would it have? Old bastard! Give it to me! At the same time, an explosive shout suddenly jolted it back to its senses. A wisp of an arc arose on the corners of Ning Tian's mouth, and then he pressed his hand down forcefully. Terrifying energy instantly erupted, and then sword intent, wind from his palms, fist techniques, and various other abilities surged into appearance. What? Tortoise shell protection, boom. The nether black tortoise wanted to activate its tortoiseshell, but it was too late. It was already too late. Boom. In an instant, the nether black tortoise's island-sized tortoiseshell released a terrifying amount of spiritual energy. Following that, a mushroom cloud of spiritual energy slowly rose, and that terrifying power swept out in all directions. The entire endless sea realm's seawater was shaken up to a height of 10,000 meters. Countless sea beasts and sea demons that couldn't escape in time were instantly affected. In just the blink of an eye, they lost their vitality and died peacefully. Is this the true strength of the ancestral master? How stupid is the emperor to think that he would fight with such a peerless expert. Di Wuji and the rest had already retreated far away, terrified. His gaze was extremely solemn as he looked at that overwhelming power, and his heart was filled with lingering fear. Perhaps a single boulder wasn't scary, but what about 100,000 boulders? The accumulated power was extremely terrifying. Boom, boom. The explosion of that power even affected the sea tens of thousands of meters away, let alone Ning Tian, who was at the center of the explosion. Oh no, there's no more spiritual energy to block it. Looking at that explosive power, Ning Tian's body felt weak. Don't forget that he had released almost all of his spiritual energy in the sand of time. Now, he was extremely weak. Ning Buxu was finally weak. Boom. F***ck. I don't want to perish together with this old bastard. Ning Tian cursed under his breath. Then, he activated the Heavenly God record. With just a little bit of spiritual energy, he could activate the void ability and escape from the center of the explosion. Damn it. There was no more spiritual energy in his dantian. There was really not a single drop left. Husband. At this moment, a fragrant wind blew over, and a beautiful figure appeared beside him and pulled him into her embrace. So soft, so fragrant, Ning Tian simply relaxed. Only by relaxing could he recover his spiritual energy. Wuqing, take your husband and retreat first. Su Yueyao shouted coldly. Then, she blasted her palm toward that explosive power. After slowing down the speed of the explosion, she moved her delicate body and continuously retreated. Tens of thousands of meters away. The three of them emerged. Ning Tian was lying in Luo Wuqing's soft arms with his head resting on her chest. At this moment, the heavenly god body began to operate quietly. Taoist Ning, is he all right? On the side, Bai Lu hugged the death bell and looked at Ning Tian with some worry. Although Taoist Ning was a bad guy, she hadn't cursed enough. It would be a pity if he died like this. At the very least, he had to wait until she finished cursing him. That's it. He's fine. He should have used up all his spiritual energy and is a little weak. Luo Wuqing looked at Ning Tian in her arms and shook her head slightly. A touch of helpless affection appeared in her beautiful eyes. Really, this guy is too reckless. Reckless is reckless, but my husband's move is really strong. Su Yueyao sighed. Looking at the mushroom cloud of spiritual energy that hadn't dissipated for a long time, even she was afraid. That's fine. If he dies, I can still draw a circle for Taoist Ning and help him transcend. Bai Lu said seriously. The three of them. Damn. This girl is too scary. Why are you looking at me like this? If I die, won't I just go to the Lord of Death's place? Bai Lu felt a little strange. She hugged the death bell with a puzzled look. Phew, Ning Tian shook his head slightly and let out a long sigh of relief. The heavenly god record was heaven-defying. In just a few seconds there was a lot of spiritual energy in his body. The feeling of weakness also quietly dissipated. Although he was no longer weak, he still didn't get up from Luo Wuqing's arms. After all, he had just gone through a great battle. His wife's arms were so soft and fragrant. It wasn't too much to take a little rest, right? On the side, Luo Wuqing seemed to know what this guy was thinking. She didn't say anything. She gently placed her hand on Ning Tian's head, as if she was injecting spiritual energy to relieve his fatigue. It could be said that with a daughter like this, what more could a man ask for? Ning Tian sighed and looked up. The mushroom cloud of spiritual energy was still exploding. The surrounding sea was dyed red with blood. He just didn't know how that old bastard was doing. At this moment, the system's voice sounded in his mind again. You are shocked. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.